everyone. We are here with Ruckus Rocks and criminaliTy. We're going to be here to learn. This isn't going to be a battle to the death or anything, just so everyone knows.
I
We're
win.
all here on good terms.
I'd lose. I don't think I could be mean to Teresa.
I can't be mean to Ruckus either. So if anybody actually came in here thinking that it's gonna be like a knockdown drag out, they're gonna be very disappointed.
This would be cool though.
Yeah,
This would be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to talk.
Yeah, we haven't really had a chance to
definitely.
talk, just the two of us.
And that is why I had confirmed that it would just be you two. There was several people making other requests, and I told them maybe another day.
There's other people that wanted to join.
Yeah, the Real Dragon, aka Mark, everyone knows him. He was requesting, but there was also they were asking about someone else that's like very pro defense, and I don't remember what his name was. But I let him know that today was just going to be you two, and I wanted to learn from you guys and see your opinions on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So did you come up with an entire list of what you're going to ask us?
No, but someone in my chat, for the most part, we're winging it. For the most part,
we can wing it.
Teresa. I know there's Necessary Evil. He has been coming up with a slew of questions for you guys when he comes in here, not on here, but in the chat. But he talks in the chat quite a bit. But for the most part, I just want to get kind of a little bit of a rundown on these 3 days. I know they're kind of huge. I don't know if Ruckus, I believe he's been watching other videos on it, right?
I've been watching a little bit. This litigious stuff drives me nuts.
So that'll be the first difference. That's the part that I really like. I like the investigation and the litigation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the litigation to me is aggravating. And they're all attorneys. The judge, the defense, and the prosecutor, they're all attorneys. They all play the same games.
See, we already agree. It's not much of a debate.
Yeah. Well, I've always said that, I'm not pro prosecution. I'm pro law enforcement. They could fire the prosecutor, the judge, and the defense team and get all new people in there, and I wouldn't care. It's the evidence is there already. It should stand on its own. We should be able to agree on that. Anybody should be able to present that evidence and have pretty much the same outcome. It's just a matter of theatrics, smoke and mirrors, sleight of hand, how they present the case. And we've all seen that in other cases where there's no way the person should have got off and they walked, just because they had a good attorney representing them.
So I have to ask then, Ruckus, do you think that Casey Anthony's guilty or innocent?
Guilty.
See, look, we already agree on more stuff.
Yeah, guilty as hell.
I thought she was guilty too. That was a case that I was completely distraught when she walked. I was so mad.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. It's the system, and it's a good system. But when you have a jury of 12 people, they're humans, and when you get a good attorney that knows how to present information and sway the jury, it is what it is. It has to be beyond reasonable doubt. I mean, that's a pretty high bar.
I think with Casey Anthony, the prosecutor lost that case for them. So I mean, it also comes down to just lawyering. Sometimes
I agree.
Better than the other one, and it doesn't even matter if the person's innocent or guilty. I do agree that it's a good system. Obviously, we know that it's still flawed, but overall, it is a good system.
It's the best in the world. It is flawed, but it's the best system in the world. I wouldn't want to be in any other country, be under the same circumstances,
Right. Well, I think that also comes to one of the reasons that cases like this become so intriguing on both sides of the fence, whether you're pro prosecution or pro defense, or just sit on a fence like I do.
Mm-hmm. You haven't leaned either way at all during this whole time. I mean, and you're allowed to.
I do all the time. I do all the time. Like one day I'm like, I'll send like some messages and I'm like, I think he's the guy. I think he did it. And then like I will go back and I'll start looking at all the stuff that has to do with like the stuff from the defense or information that we were not able to obtain due to lack of investigation on certain parts. And I'm like, but what about this? And how does this make sense? I'm like, and so then I fall back over. And so then I teeter-totter, and it's frustrating. I was really hoping after the 3 days of hearings that I would have something that just said, like, and just clicked and I'd be done. Like, I'd know. I just don't have that yet. I know you have it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have it. I don't make that a secret either.
So what's
but
your
it's
there's one thing that tells me, one thing that you could say that would prove to me, absolutely, just one though, that would prove to me without a doubt that he's the guy.
He's in jail. He's been in jail for over 2 years. The defense team right away, right out the chute, they said the PC was weak and that the investigation was flawed. And they tried to have a bond hearing because the PC was so weak that they couldn't even charge him with that stuff. So they wanted the charges to be changed, have a bond hearing where they had to give a preponderance of their evidence so that they could see how they were going to present it. They already knew what evidence they have. They just want to see how they're going to present it. But then they changed that from a bond hearing, which would have squashed all of this stuff, to a suppression hearing. So he's still in jail on that weak, quote unquote, probable cause affidavit. And the line that I refer to constantly in the Constitution and statutes, local and state, is reasonable person, what a reasonable person would believe. So if you read that PC and you don't pick it apart, you just look at it as a layman, a reasonable person, do you think it's worth putting this guy in jail and taking him to trial to prove that he did it? And yes, there's plenty of that there.
I agree and I disagree. So I agree on the fact that as just a reasonable person, you read the PCA, most reasonable Americans have faith in our justice system and have faith in our law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you say not to pick it apart, like that's really hard to do when you do start finding out that some things aren't accurate. And so for me, it's always come down, this whole case has come down to trust. And I watch both pro prosecution, both pro defense. I talk to both sides of the fence, just getting a feel for like what people think and why they think the way they do. But it comes to trust. Like you're a very pro law enforcement guy. You trust that law enforcement. You're just like, I believe that they did what they were supposed to do and they got their guy. And for me, like, I don't trust them.
Yeah, so they made some mistakes though. You know, I could pick them apart as well.
Right, everybody, all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I could also pick apart the defense, pick apart the judge, pick apart the prosecutor, you know, but you have to, and like I said, the fact that he's still in, well, now he's going to a jail, which I never cared. I was always of the opinion, take him home if you want, rub his feet, give him a milk bath, just get him to trial on time.
I'm going to touch my husband's fucking feet. I'm not rubbing Richard Allen's feet.
But it really doesn't matter. He's closer to his defense counsel, which is good. That's always good. But if you took the staff out of that prison and out of that jail, and you took a picture and a layout of the cell that he's going to now and the cell that he came from, there's not a remarkable difference. It's going to be the same. And he's going to be on lockdown. They can't put him on Gen Pop. There's something too. You know, people say you can't put this guy in prison like that and expect him not to go into psychosis and stuff like that. And I beg to differ. I've been there. I've seen it. But not only that, what's the options? What else do you do? I mean, he's not there to be punished. He's there to be warehoused and kept safe until he can be tried.
But isn't that the whole thing, is that in the long run of it, he wasn't being kept safe?
Well, how is he not? I mean, I know there's been a lot of, and the defense team's doing a great job. They finally got in the Indianapolis newspaper front page headline, top of the whole paper, about the ritualistic killing. So if anything's going to sway a jury, it'll be something like that, you know? So they finally got to that, and I don't blame them. I'm not mad at them at all. That's their job. They're doing a great job.
Well, it's the same as the prosecutor, outright saying that he's the guy. I mean, doing a press conference on October 31st saying we believe he's the guy. And
no, I agree.
Carter's like, yeah, judge signed the warrant, so yeah, it's him. I mean,
absolutely.
They both play that. So that's when I say, like, yeah, they all do that. But ultimately, it's on the prosecution to prove it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they have the burden, full burden of it. That's why all this smoke and mirrors stuff, and it's a great job by the defense team. I'm not upset with them at all. But they're not doing anything to prove his innocence. They're going with the third party did it, right? So if we play devil's advocate and we take Richard Allen out of the equation, he was never arrested. He wasn't a suspect. He's still working at CVS. How do we get these 3-4 people to trial? How do we get them in jail and try them? Because the defense is sure that they did it.
Well, I think
so how do it take Richard Allen out of the equation and convince me that they did it?
Well, how can I convince you when law enforcement didn't follow through with any of the search warrants that they put on those people to prove it or disprove it?
Now, do we know that for sure?
That was what was stated in court the last couple of days, was that they had created a search warrant for Elvis Field's house. Nothing ever happened with it. They had created search warrants for Brad Holder's phone. Nothing happened with it. They never even downloaded the phone.
Well, if Holder had an alibi, they don't have to do all that.
No? Okay. So you're going to bring me to the alibi, which is fine, because I actually don't think Brad Holder has anything to do with anything. But to still prove the point of, if there's no time of death, then his alibi means shit.
Agreed. But you're saying there's no time of death. Do you know that there's no time of death anywhere?
What was said in court?
It said that on the autopsy, there's no time of death. Have you seen the coroner's report?
I do. I have the coroner's report. It was uploaded to Ancestry.
And what does it say?
It says 4 p.m., which is still outside their window of 2:30 to 3:30.
Well, that's what you have to go with. The coroner says it was 4 p.m. They have ways to determine that.
Right.
Because other than that, we don't know. We know they were alive at 2:13-ish, right? We know that. We have proof of life at that time. We don't have proof of death until, noontime the next day.
Correct.
So that's a big time frame. So, they use forensics to determine time of death, cause of death, all of that stuff.
Those are the death certificates signed off by the coroner. So yes, they're not the coroner report. They are the death certificates signed by the coroner. So I'll just clarify.
Now the coroner's report should have time of death on it. But if you're saying it says 4 o'clock,
that's the death certificate. So I just want to make that clear. I said, yeah, we have it from Ancestry, but
okay. Now the defense team is saying they definitely did it. Correct?
The defense team saying what?
That the Odinists did it. Holder and Messer.
There was probable cause to continue that investigation to see if they were the people or not, and that for whatever reason, the Unified Command decided not to pursue this, even though there was outside agencies continuing to pursue it, and they kept shutting it down and never continued. So why is that?
What did the FBI do with it?
Well, the FBI ran with it, and that's what they were looking for, and then they got kicked off the case.
By who?
Doug Carter.
Okay, so the FBI wanted to go with that Odinist theory.
Well, they said that they were even searching like Ron Logan's house for books to do with Nordic paganism and ritual sacrifice and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So, now, what do you think that it's a ritual sacrifice?
I don't know.
Because just looking at it from a general point of view, right? Whoever did this lingered around that crime scene. Those sticks placed on the bodies are not random. If it was to cover the body, he would have just took them and thrown it, and thrown leaves and all of that stuff. Correct. So it's not random. So why would a person linger around a crime scene longer than they have to do that?
Well, that's what leans me towards that it being some type of ritual, something or other. Was it a sacrifice? I don't know. But whatever I believe is on those sticks being put on the bodies is intentional and it has some message. I just don't know what it is to say that it's some type of ritual sacrifice. But there's experts that say, yeah, that's exactly, it fits all the criteria for what they consider a ritual sacrifice.
Now, I heard you say that you're going to try and get the transcripts from the last 3 days.
I requested them, yeah.
Okay. Because I've seen, and thank you to everybody that went there and took notes. It was amazing. Those were long days. But everybody has a different opinion. You know, if some people's notes of the same exact statements are different. So I'd have to see the transcripts. But this woman, Dawn, the expert on ritualistic killings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She saw the crime scene photos, correct?
Yes.
Was she able to identify those runes?
I don't know if anybody asked her that. I don't remember hearing. I've listened to quite a few different sides that went there, and I don't think that nobody ever asked her what they were. But she does talk about that whatever they are is intentional for the person making them. That it's
right, binding runes.
Well, most people think the binding rune is what was on Abby because of it matching what Brad Holder posted on his Facebook that he had called a binding rune, and since it's identical to that, that's why they refer to that one as the binding rune. And the one on Libby could be too, but she specifically states like it's like, this is where she talks more about like it's whatever the message is to themselves and to whoever they're giving it to. That's who it means something to. It doesn't necessarily have to mean anything to us or the prosecutor or the defense team.
Well, an expert should know what those runes mean and what the interpretation of that rune is. Unless, I mean, these Odinists, they may have their own, each little offshoot may have their own alphabet.
I actually wonder, they should probably ask. So when Amber Holder takes the stand, she's the one that I think is interesting because she obviously practiced Odinism alongside Brad Holder. And she talks about that she does believe that they are runes based on her knowledge of runes and what she has done with Brad Holder. Somebody should have asked, I think even her, well, she would be one of the closest people to interpret him. I don't think anybody asked.
Right. Now, you saw the crime scene photos, correct?
I did, yes.
Abby's legs. Her feet were on top of each other. One foot was on top of the other. It wasn't a bended knee like the photo that they put out on court TV and stuff like that with the depiction of it. Her knee wasn't even closely bent like that.
It's not like a 90-degree angle kind of bend like they're making it, but it is. I mean, it's bent.
It's not even close to what they're saying it is. That interpretation that they have, it's not even close. Her
right foot is underneath like her left leg.
Right.
Or underneath her like left calf. So if you think it's more of a circle versus like out to the side and like a 90-degree angle.
Yeah, it's still interesting. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still interesting. Ron Logan is interesting. But there's nothing that ties any of those people to the crime scene.
That's tough. How do you know that?
And what?
How do we know that? Because they never followed through with any of it. They never followed through with going to find this blue coat that his sister talked about and taking it into evidence. They never followed through with the search warrant. They never got the dumps on Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder's phones.
The blue coat does not tie them to the crime scene.
The blue coat, if it had blood on it, they don't ever take it to test the DNA of this blood to find out what it matches to.
Yeah, sure. If it had blood on it, agreed.
According to his sister, it did.
But that's hearsay.
Well, she would still be the one.
Now we're getting back into litigious stuff. I mean, that's hearsay, which I hate.
Hearsay if he's admitting to a crime tour, and he is admitting it the morning of the 14th before the bodies are found.
Now that's Elvis?
Elvis, yeah.
Now he told his sister this, right?
Yeah, he told one sister that immediately and then continued to confess details of the crime scene to both of his sisters.
Okay.
And then both sisters take a lie detector test and pass.
It's not admissible in court.
The lie detector's not, but their statements are.
It's hearsay. It's admissible. It's admissible, but it'll be objected right away.
It might be, but they would go to weight instead of admissibility. And so the jury would be able to say, hey, did they ever come to your house? Elvis lived with you. Did they come to your house and serve a search warrant? Nope, they did not. When you called the police, did they ever call you back after this tip? No, they did not. How did you get in contact with the police? Well, I had to contact my friend at Homeland Security who got a hold of an FBI task force guy who finally came and talked to me. Almost a year later. I mean, that's not going to be hearsay. That's going to be her statement.
And that's what she said. Well, it's a statement, but as far as saying, hey, he told me this, I mean, that's classic hearsay. I mean, you know that. That's hearsay.
But it would be an
now, has he confessed to anybody outside of his sister? Anybody else?
Of the crime to his sister, it would be an exception to hearsay.
Okay. So he had confessed to his sister. What about Holder? So you're saying Elvis probably did this?
Well, my focus would not be on Brad Holder if I was the defense team, but I'm not. So it's just take it for what it is. My thought would be that I would be looking at the Johnny Messer, Rod Abrams, Elvis Fields, and maybe having a tie to Brad Holder because they're trying to impress him or want to be like him if that's what they're going with. But it wouldn't be just on Brad Holder. Brad Holder is the one who tells Amber Holder that Patrick Westfall did it.
Right. Now, is Amber and Brad still married?
No, they're still friends, though.
Okay.
Apparently, they had an amicable divorce where it was a friendly divorce. I don't know what that is, but okay.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I'm never getting divorced. And I know that I'm good. After 39 years, my wife's not going to train anybody else now. I'm trained.
Oh, fuck no. She spent too much time invested in you, Ruckus.
Exactly. But if we have, okay, so Elvis Holder tells his sister that he did it. From what I understand, he told her he spit on one of the girls' bodies.
No, he tells that to the law enforcement agent Murphy.
And did they take a DNA swab of him?
According to testimony, they did, but nobody seems to know what was ever done with it. Went to Unified Command, and nobody testifies whatever happened with it. So did they run it? Did they not? No idea.
Right, we don't know.
We don't know.
Right, law enforcement knows. The defense team knows. They know all of this already. All these questions that we're asking each other, the defense team, law enforcement, the prosecutor, they already know the answers to all of these.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, listen, I hope that she allows cameras in the courtroom. A, because I'm nosy, right? And B, because it'll show it'll give everybody an opportunity to say, okay, there's really no shenanigans going on here. I would like law enforcement to say, hey, we made some mistakes. You know what I mean?
Won't.
Yeah. So, but I mean, what are you going to do? But the evidence is the evidence. Now, what else would tie them to the crime scene? Because you have to be there to commit the crime. You have to be there.
This is another thing that we hear tidbits of, but no follow-up on. So will we get it at trial? I don't know. I guess it's going to depend on her rulings now. But on the original geofencing map back from 2017, there is somebody there with a phone that is connected to these particular people that Murphy was investigating. And when the analyst, Kevin Horan, gave the report to law enforcement with a list of people to follow up on, we don't know if they were even all followed up on.
Right, we don't know.
There is a phone. Well, the defense says they don't have it, if it was. And the prosecutor is saying that they've given everything to the defense. So is it lost in this mess of discovery that they say is unorganized? Obviously, I don't have an answer for that. But there is a person there that is connected to this group of people that's being investigated at the scene.
And they're currently being investigated, you said?
No, they said that in 2000.
You said that somebody is continuing to investigate these folks, you said.
Oh, no, Murphy.
I wasn't aware of that.
Murphy, Ferenczi, and Click were investigating them.
Oh, that was a while ago, though, right?
Right.
That's not recently.
2019. So that's what they said, was that the phone found on the geofencing map from 2017 matches or is connected to one of the 6 individuals that Murphy was investigating up until 2019. I would assume somebody's investigating them right now, but that's an assumption that I can't prove. So,
right. Well, you would just think that something would be surfaced by now. Anything would be surfaced by now by law enforcement. They honestly, they do not want to put the wrong guy away for this. They want to solve the case.
But I think for them, they think they did. and they need to cover up everything that they did wrong. They don't want anybody to know what they did wrong over 5.5 years of investigation.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even bother to tell the defense team, oh, by the way, we happened to delete on accident all of this information until the defense is asking them for the information. Then they're like, ooh, yeah, by the way, we deleted all that on accident. And it's like,
well, the defense knew that it was deleted. That was their best option. This whole third party stuff was their best option because they knew that they have to look at every avenue, and they seen that there was the DVR didn't get reset and it recorded over itself after however many days or hours. And a lot of them do that. There's no excuse for it. You do an interview, right. You should burn a copy of it. You should burn 2 copies of it, write your synopsis and move on. But the statement
is that Mullen didn't tell them that until almost a year after Richard Allen was arrested, when they were asking for information from these particular interviews. Mm-hmm. Instead of like being up front, like when they turned over discovery, like, hey, we need to let you guys know we don't have X, Y, and Z. This is why. Like they tried to like sweep it under the rug, like it didn't happen until they were forced to have to answer for it.
Right. Well, they did synopsises. I know that. They did write a synopsis of the interviews, and those were filed. The defense has those. They just don't have the audio and video.
Months later.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about a 5.5-year investigation, so 26 terabytes is not a lot. That's not a lot of information.
Why wasn't anything? They couldn't even go back themselves. The interviewing law enforcement agents could not go back to watch that interview to even write their notes to make sure it was accurate, because it was gone by the time they're writing reports on it.
70 days later, they were right. Oh, well, we don't know when in the interviews took place either.
We also know that police reports can't be put in as evidence.
A synopsis can be. It can be turned over in discovery. That's all part of discovery. Notes taken during interviews, anything like that.
Can't use it as evidence. Can't cross-examine it.
Well, why wouldn't they do this then? Because Florida, you have the right to a speedy trial, period. You have to waive that right to a speedy trial. In Indiana, you have to file for a speedy trial. So why didn't they do that right away, Teresa? Why didn't they say, listen, he's innocent. Let's get this done. Let's get this over with. We can point out these mistakes and we'll be done with all this. Why didn't they do that?
Well, the trial was set for January. He was arrested in October. October of 2022, and the trial was set for January of the following year.
He has to apply for a speedy trial.
Right, for speedy, but I'm just saying that, I mean, that's not very long. We know most murder cases. I mean, shit, we just watched a trial that the crime was 4 years old. So, I mean, a year is not too shabby. So I don't know if they need to file for anything until they needed to secure that in November of 2023. Do you see what I mean?
But that's because of legal jockeying. That's totally. Listen, McClellan arrested him. He needed to be ready to go to trial the next day if need be. That's the way it operates. That's the way they have to operate. So why didn't they file a speedy trial? I've always had, like, that lost tip has always bothered me. This DVR shit being erased has always bothered me. Ron Logan's creating a fake alibi for the time during a crime was committed, before anybody even knew a crime was committed. The girls were still missing at that point. So I have questions as well. But they had every opportunity. Now, first, he said he could afford his own attorney. So that set him back a little bit. He didn't realize not everybody knows that. So, you know, I don't fault him for that at all. But once he asked for attorneys, they could have filed right away for a speedy trial. The state's been ready. They have to be, Teresa. They don't have a choice. We have rights as Americans.
I don't think waiting the year was going to be an issue for either side.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But we don't know everything yet. A lot of it is speculation, and some things get tossed around on the internet that are just not true. But they morph, and they, like this whole serrated blade on a box blade thing. We don't even know if a box blade knife was used. It's like way back when he was arrested, people were losing their minds over how tall he was. they go out into the bridge with a scale and stand in approximately the same spot and say, I'm 6'2". There's no way that that's Richard Allen and Bubba. None of that matters. None of that matters.
It does matter if the guy is if the guy on the bridge is 6'2" and Richard Allen's 5'4", it would matter.
But it would. That's the key word, would. And I agree with you if that was the case. But the guy that went out there and took the picture of himself was 6'2", not Richard Allen.
No, I'm just saying if it was a 6. Well, isn't Ron Logan like 6'2", 6'3"? I don't remember his exact height, but
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I think it was like a whole Ron Logan thing. But I mean, people did that for years, Ruckus. Before there was ever an arrest, there was so many people out there doing measurements.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I came into this case, saw it for the first time about 2 weeks before Richard Allen got arrested. So,
what made you get in the case then? If there was no arrest, what drew you to it?
Well, I had the shoulder surgeries coming up. I knew I was going to be laid up for about a year. So I was like, I need to do something. So I started looking at YouTube videos about cold cases and stuff like that. And that's when I met Frank Wessling. And him and I did a couple videos together, and we were doing one about this case because I was like, this is bullshit. They got this guy in audio and video. It's 5 years later and they don't have him arrested yet. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? That's what got me interested in this case. Mm-hmm. So I haven't always been, as soon as he got arrested, I wasn't, that's the guy. But the more stuff that I don't trust anything unless it comes from law enforcement or the state, or it's on paper. I don't trust that. It's not that I think the defense is doing a bad job, but I don't trust what they say. They're doing what's in the best interest of their client. And again, I would hire them in a heartbeat. I think they're doing a great job, but they're muddying the water.
Or are they telling the truth?
They could be. That's why we need to get this to trial.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they're not going to release any information. Law enforcement is not going to release anything. Now, I heard that there was some talk in this 3 days of hearings about pictures being left at the scene. Did you hear about that?
Say it again real quick.
That there was pictures left at the scene, at the crime scene. During these 3 days of testimony in these hearings. Maybe somebody in chat could help out with that.
I didn't hear that.
And the whole serrated thing, where did that come from? Because that's been a big topic too. People are losing their minds over serrated box blade and stuff like that. And to me, that's right there with how tall he is. I didn't care about that whole fight about how tall he was. That doesn't matter.
So the serrated thing, so there's two separate things. So on the second day of hearings, Holman's on the stand. I think it was Holman, or it might have been Harshman. It was one of the two, but I think it was Holman. And I wasn't there. So this is obviously anybody that was there that's in chat, please correct me if I say something wrong. But from my understanding, when they were talking about the confessions, Holman saying something about that Richard Allen said he used a box cutter from work and threw it away in the trash can behind the CVS, or in the dumpster behind the CVS. So that's that part of it. And then on the third day, when Dawn Perlmutter, the expert on Odinism, takes the stand, she said she was going over everything that she reviewed, and she talks about that in the autopsy, it said that it's a serrated blade that is the murder weapon. And then I think when on cross with Nick, he asked her if after all of your opinions, if I told you that it was a box cutter, would it change any of your opinions? And she's like, no, I don't know. But he doesn't say it was a box cutter. He just says, like, if I told you the weapon was a box cutter, would it change your opinions?
Gotcha.
Just because that's what Holman's saying Richard Allen said.
But who knows if Richard Allen was in psychosis or not when he said that?
Correct.
Right. So do you see how it can get blurred? We don't know any of this stuff.
Hence why I pay for the transcripts.
Yeah. Well, even the transcripts. Somebody in chat said that it was mentioned that it was a serrated blade over the last couple of days. And I haven't, like I said, I hate this litigious stuff. I'm more of a forensics and evidence guy. Well, that's said. Fanex said Perlmutter referenced the autopsy report stating the weapon was serrated.
Correct.
So if it was a serrated weapon, then it more than likely, we can probably agree on this, was not a box cutter.
I agree with you.
And we don't know, we know approximately what injuries they had, their lacerations, but we don't know how deep they were. We don't know entry point, nothing. We honestly, we don't know the cause of death. There could be any number of causes of death on this case as well. And that hasn't been put out to my knowledge by the state or by law enforcement. But I can't see LE releasing anything. I can't see them releasing anything more. They've done their job, Teresa. They turned over everything to the prosecutor. Now it's his job to try it. You know, he brings them in as needed, testimony, or if any new evidence comes to light. Like this Odinist thing, you know, it could turn out that that's true. But it does not let Richard Allen off the hook. Either way, it does not let him off the hook. There's evidence that puts him there at that time. He doesn't have an alibi.
Is there evidence that puts Richard Allen there at the time?
Yes.
What?
The bullet, his video, him telling the girls down the hill, that's him on that video. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, there's definitely doubt about that because many of us don't think it is him on the video.
Okay, many of us, including me, it does not matter. Have you heard the defense team say anything about that's not him in the video or that's not his car in the Hoosier Harvest store? If you were his defense attorney and you believed that that was not him in that video, you'd be jumping up and down saying, you guys are stupid. That's not even him.
Well, I'm pretty sure by them saying that he wasn't there at the time of the crime and he was there from 12 to 1:30 essentially says that it's not him on the bridge in that video.
Wouldn't it be easier to just say that's not him and that's not his car?
I don't know if you've read a lot of Emotions, Ruckus, but they don't go, none of these guys go an easy route of saying anything ever. On either side. They like to make the filings very complicated and redundant. But no, I mean, but nobody on the prosecution side is saying absolutely that's him. What they're saying is the witnesses, the multiple witnesses are saying that the person they saw is the guy on the bridge. But nobody, and not even in the PCA, does it actually state that Richard Allen has been identified as that guy on the bridge in Libby's video. They don't even say it. Neither side says that. Yes or no.
Now, Doug Carter said this person in this video is the person that's responsible for the deaths of Abby and Libby. Do you remember that?
Do you know that Doug Carter also said that the freaking sketches, he did magic hands and he said if you put the sketches together, it becomes the same guy. After his team, the ISP, put out a report saying, a public announcement saying that they're very different people and they have cleared the old bridge guy and the new bridge guy or the young bridge guy is now the suspect. I don't trust Doug Carter. You do. This is why I say this whole case comes down to trust. You believe that law enforcement...
But no, it comes down to evidence. It comes down to evidence.
Not yet.
And we haven't seen it all. We haven't seen it all.
But
now, from what I saw with Doug Carter, he was on a TV show being interviewed, and somebody showed him both of those pictures, and with the Richard Allen in the middle, and then with them blended together. And he said, that's the first time I've ever seen that. They're having those pictures. I never heard him come out and say anything like that. I see he was in that interview on TV on one of the talk shows or whatever it was, some morning show. Might have been even a local show. But he stated that that person on the bridge is responsible for these girls' deaths. They arrested Richard Allen and said that he is that person in that video.
No, they say that the witnesses that saw a man matched the person in that video.
I have a question.
Okay, good.
T, so you said coming into this that you were sitting on the fence with this one, but a lot of the evidence that everyone thinks condemns him, you've said you don't believe. So wouldn't that mean you were more, or what makes you think that there's a possibility he could do it if you're on the fence still?
Well, I think that actually putting him there is going to be a big deal. And I think me sitting on the fence is more of waiting for the trial to actually hear this type of evidence. So people
more
assume,
information.
Right. I want clarity on some of the information we've gotten. And I hoped for that over the last 3 days, because right now my whole point is that, so because I'm talking to Ruckus, I'm taking obviously not an opposite standpoint,
okay.
but trying to look and say, okay, but what about this? Because this is how I talk to myself in my brain. If I say what Ruckus is saying, and then I go, okay, but what about this? And then if you put somebody up here who is super pro-defense and thinks Richard Allen's absolutely innocent, then I'm going to be like, but what about this? What about the fact that he says he was there? And then supposedly it changes. I can do both sides of this very, very easily. And this is why I can't get off the damn fence. Because I
And you're absolutely right. He could be innocent.
Yeah, I think
I believe he's guilty, but that means nothing. It depends on these 12 people in the jury, what they believe. That's what it depends on. Now, do you remember when he wrote that letter to the judge saying that he wanted to maintain his counsel? He didn't want them kicked off the case. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was a very coherent letter. And that's when he was in psychosis, allegedly.
No, I think he was already out of psychosis by then, if I understand the testimony correctly from the last couple of days.
Well, his confessions came after he found God. That was in March 2023. Right. From what I seen from notes and stuff. Until
that's why we need the transcripts to be able to argue this with facts for sure. Because my understanding is that when Diener asked Walla, would you say that he told you, or would you that he had said finding God made him want to be honest about what he had done? And she's like, I don't remember him saying that.
Right. But so would a person in psychosis be able to write a concise letter like that?
They're not in psychosis anymore.
Now, when was he in psychosis?
March through June?
Of 22?
23.
23. He found God in March 23. And right. That's when he started making his confessions.
He also told, well, he didn't start confessing, I don't think, until April. But in March is when he told Walla that he didn't feel right in the head and he felt like something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He felt like something was wrong with his brain and he wanted to get help. He wanted to go to the hospital.
Right. Now, do we know what the note that he said to either, I believe it was Skinner, not the other DNR officer. We call him Game and Fish here. But do we know what was exactly in that note? Because he definitely inserted himself into this. Before he saw that picture, right? He didn't see that picture. That wasn't out yet when he spoke to DNR.
So so let me ask you, why do you think it's Skinner and not Doolin when the probable cause and search warrants all state it was Doolin? Why do you think it was Skinner?
Well, Doolin's the one that turned it in. Skinner was already retired, but Skinner knew Allen. He was already retired, but he was helping during the canvassing and stuff like that. So it really does not matter. That's just my opinion. It's not even worth arguing about. Let's just say, we could just say it was Doolin, right? We could just say it was Doolin. But what did he say to him? Because he was not, that photo wasn't out yet. So before all of that happened, he put himself at the scene. And what he said, he put himself there at the scene at the time of the crime. Now he changed it, but with the video they have from the Hoover Harvest store, they're probably not going to be able. And if that testimony is believable, that he's seen on 300 walking muddy and bloody, I find that one hard to believe. I do. I'll agree with you 100% on that one. But he was there during the time.
But I disagree that he told Doolin that. That's not what Doolin even states.
What did Doolin state? What's it?
So only Doolin's note. That's all we have is what they've written down in the in the state motions that Doolin put in his note. That's all we actually have. So because there's no recording or anything else, and apparently it wasn't memorable enough for Doolin to truly remember it. But in the document or in the notes that Doolin puts, he says that Richard Allen was there between 1:30 and 3:30.
Mm-hmm. Now, do we have that note? Because he pulled it out of the system, didn't he?
Yeah, it's like it's copy and pasted into the documents. I can pull it up if you want.
Yeah, does it have his actual note, his handwritten note?
It's not handwritten. No, it's typed. It's a typed note that they literally take and copy and paste into the documents.
Right.
But this is the issue that I have with this is if somebody asks you a question, so here, Ruckus, if I need to know where you're at 1:45, right? That's what I'm looking for. And I say, or let me do this. Hold on. We'll do it the other way first. So if I say to you, were you home between 1:30 and 3:30 today?
Yes.
You left your house at 2:45.
Maybe.
So were you home between 2:30 and 3:30 or 1:30 and 3:30 if you left your house at 2:45?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I ask you, were you at a particular place from 1:30, right? Were you at home today from 1:30 to 3:30, but you left your house at 2:45? What's your answer?
Could you repeat the question?
If you left your house at 2:45 and I say, were you home from 1:30 until 3:30, all day, 1:30 to 3:30, but you left your house at 2:45, is your answer yes or no? Were you home from 1:30 to 3:30?
Yes.
You were.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have you on camera leaving at 2:45.
Do you have me on camera leaving at 2:45, sir?
I know.
I got to see it.
But you see my point, Ruckus.
I do see your point, and I understand exactly what you're saying. But here's somebody who it's murder 101, first day of class. You look at who you know was there, who said they was there, and then you branch out from there. This guy said he was there. Now, they missed that tip, and it pisses me off. They missed that tip, but he did put himself there. Do you agree with that?
I think he put himself at the bridge that day. Yes.
At some point in that day.
Some point in that day, absolutely.
Okay. So what did he tell Doolin?
I do not agree with he said he was there looking at fish and was wearing the exact same clothes as Bridge Guy was.
Now, why do you say that? Why don't you believe that?
Because they interviewed him in October of 2022. And I want to see this interview. So this is when I say I want clarity on things, because if he does say, yeah, I was there that day wearing a blue jacket and blue jeans and was standing there looking at fish on February 13th, then I've got a bigger issue with him being there. But if the conversation is, do you own blue jackets? Yep, I own blue jackets. Or what do you typically wear? So for me, for instance, even though I do buy new clothes, so I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody because I got comments about that the last time I used this analogy. I typically wear tank tops in the summer for probably 20 years. I wear tank tops in the summer with another tank top underneath.
So since you were about 5, you've done that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Since I was about 5, I've done that.
About 20 years now.
Somebody said, hey, what would you have been wearing 5 years ago in July? I could say I would have been wearing shorts, sandals, and a tank top with a tank top underneath. I absolutely could say that for fact. Would I be able to say I was wearing a purple tank top with, blue shorts? You know what I mean? Like, would I be able to say that? That's very different to me. So if he says, yeah, I do, I typically in February when it's cold out, I have these are the jackets I wear. This is the type of jackets I have, because
we're speculating there though. We're speculating.
Right. I need to hear the context of exactly what that interview states. And then it's like, okay, so what do you normally do when you go out to the bridge? Well, I walk around, I go to the side, I look at fish, I do this, I do that. And then all of a sudden it goes into a state document where he says he's looking at fish that day. Well, does he say he was actually looking at fish that day? Or does he just say he does go there to look at fish? Those are issues for me.
Okay. See, for me, they're not. Little inconsistencies like that, you're going to expect those. You're above average intelligence. You are, and I'm not just stroking you. So you can say that, yes, I was wearing this and this and this and this. Not all people can do that. Most people cannot do that. You walk by people every day. You don't know who they are, what they're doing, and they could have just killed somebody, and you may be on video at the gas station, and they talk to you, and you can't describe that person to save your life.
Yes.
At all. But when you say, I was there and I did this, well, you have to take that at face value.
Only if he goes to the bridge all the time, which he does say, he goes there often.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I take that he says he was looking at fish on the 13th? You know what I mean? Like, I can't. He just goes there and says, I go there often. I look at fish. I sit down. I look at the stock ticker. I read, stuff on my phone, or I read a book at the bench, and da 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 da. Like, can anybody say that wasn't on the 12th?
Now, the stock ticker, that's a very good example. How hard would it be for his defense attorneys to prove that he was on that app looking at the stock ticker?
Well, I think that's part of the issue, is that they're not the ones who have to prove it, number one. But they have to be able to put his phone at the crime scene from the state during the time from 2:13 to 3:30, and their time of death, which would be, they say is 2:30 to 3:30.
Right, but I know they don't have to prove anything, but that would be considered defending him, right? He was looking at the stock ticker. He wasn't there when you people say he was. How can you prove that? He was looking at the stock ticker on his phone. Here's the app. We subpoenaed them.
But they have to have his phone, so they have to get a download of his phone. We don't know they haven't done that. We just don't know they have. Nobody said one way.
I'm sure they have. This is a capital case. I mean, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've done all that. And again, law enforcement knows. Nick knows, the defense knows. We do not. These conversations are fantastic, but we're speculating a lot because we just haven't seen it. Have you learned anything new over these last 3 days that you didn't know before?
Yes. Most of it's the gross stuff from the crime scene.
Right. So you can imagine they're not going to put the preponderance of their case out right now.
No.
They did what they had to. They did what they had to. So they've got tons more. And yes, I do trust law enforcement. They're not just trying to railroad this guy. I mean, why would they wait over 5 years to arrest him if they planted the bullet there?
Well, it doesn't have to be that they planted the bullet there. And I do have you said something about the bullet earlier, and I do want to go back to that. And I don't know. I don't think I've seen Steve in this chat, but I was going to bring him. I was going to comment on something he had done. But with the bullet, we don't know how long the bullet was there. Nobody's told us that yet. We've heard from Colorado that the bullet was actually like 2 inches into the ground, and it was something I had talked to True Crime Web about. There's got to be a way to tell how long this unspent round was actually left there in the ground. Nobody's talked about it in court at all.
Now, who said it was 2 inches into the ground?
Labrado, the one of the defense attorneys that came on during the transfer of defense attorneys.
Okay. Now they had to wait for the original team to return the discovery to the state, and then the state gave that to them, correct? So they didn't even have any of this information for at least a week. Yeah, for at least a week.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody else has said that. Why wouldn't his defense team bring that up? Now, we don't know how the crime scene was processed either. And that's where Mr. Steve comes in, because he was a CSI guy.
Right.
And it could literally take you an hour. You could see something on the ground, especially outside, something on the ground 10 feet from you. And it could take you an hour to get to it because you have to process everything outside. You don't know what you're stepping on. Somebody could have stepped on that bullet by mistake or whatever. And it just so happens it's the same caliber that law enforcement carries. But if that bullet, see, to me, I'm an evidence guy. That's physical evidence, right? You may not believe in the forensics. You may think it's junk science. But if they can replicate that over and over and over and show you that does match his ejector pin in his gun, and they take a very similar model, same year, and they eject it, and it's a different tool mark. To me, that holds more weight than somebody who says those are runes. Those are binding runes. That holds more weight. It's something you can put in your hand. It's tangible. It's not somebody's opinion, although it is subjective. It is subjective, and I'm sure the defense team will find somebody to I don't think the bullet's going to be huge as far as tying anything to the. I think the jury's just going to believe that that's his bullet because it's the same make and model. There's a manufacturer stamp on it. He's got a box of them at his house. That's enough for anybody to. I'm giving you an example. That's enough for anybody. They don't care about the science part of it. They don't care.
So let me ask you this then. So you don't think, I mean, for me, I care about the science part of it, but I do enjoy forensics a lot. I went back to school to study forensics, so I believe in it and I do like it. But two things. I don't
You'd
think
be good at it. You're inquisitive.
Oh, thanks. I don't think the bullet from the crime scene is planted at the crime scene. I think that's a big difference. I know a lot of people who are very pro prosecution think, well, why would law enforcement have planted this evidence many years ago? I don't think that's the case.
I love the voices you use, by the way.
If there's a switcheroo of ammo, that's an issue.
Sure.
And the defense has claimed that they have not received chain of custody. That was in a old filing, and it has not come up again. And obviously, they don't come forward and say, okay, we've now received it. Thank you. Like, we don't know that as the public. So they could have gotten something now with chain of custody, but at one point they were saying they didn't have it. So that's number one. Number two, I have.
But they may have had it. And just didn't know it yet because it was 26 terabytes of information.
So my other question is even though some may call it junk science, I'm going to ask, when they're test firing this gun and comparing the fired rounds, the fired bullets against this unspent round, you don't think that changes anything? And I'm not a gun person. So
law enforcement would not test a fired cartridge, an empty casing, against an unspent round before they test. They eject first. They want to replicate what they have. Well, then just to cover all bases, they'll shoot it, which automatically ejects it. For a round to come out that's unspent, it has to be manually racked and ejected. So they prove that, and then they fire it a few times to match up to say, listen, it's the same process. This one's just done by hand. This is done by the mechanics of the firearm. They just try to cover all their bases. Some of this stuff, it's not them being stupid. It's them being smart, trying to get out in front of things because they've been through it so many times. They don't have a dog in the fight, these forensics labs. They don't have,
so tell you the documents that were released for the comparison of this unspent round is that the unspent round was tested against 3 fired rounds, 3 fired casings.
Yeah, but what document was that?
It's the document from the forensics specialist.
But it was included in the what?
And the data dump from
the Franks motion?
No, June of 20. No, it's from the forensic person herself. It's signed by her.
And why wouldn't she test it against fired rounds?
So
it's a static mechanism. It's a tool mark.
Yeah, so the paperwork shows that it's. I'll pull it up. Hold on, I'll grab it. Okay. It's fired rounds from the lab compared to the unspent round, and it is part of. I believe it was part of one of the state's filings, and it got dumped. And this might be just my memory being bad, so if somebody else remembers in chat better than I do, please say it. But I think it was in that June dump that Goal was like, I created a website and put it all, in this website.
Well, let's say I agree with that. Okay, we don't have to go any further with it. We don't have to read it or anything. Okay. Say that she only tested it against fired. She fired it and then tested against the unspent round. Why they would do that is beyond me. Outside of going above and beyond, in case there's any questions, in case there's further evidence that we don't know about from the crime scene. So that ejector pin is a static item. It stays still. The slide slides the round back into it, and that's what spits it out. Doesn't matter if you fire it or if you rack it out yourself. It leaves the same mark. It's the same science. It doesn't matter how they do it. Now, if you get what's called a stovepipe, where the round doesn't eject properly, then you can't use that one because now it's dented because the slide closes and the ejector port will damage that round. But if it fires as it's designed to, it doesn't matter if you rack it out or if you shoot it and it gets spit out from the ejector. It's the same tooling marks. It's not going to change. Now, you and I could look at it and we wouldn't be able to know the difference. But the serrations and scratches and dents, every one of those ejector pins, they're stamped metal. So they're all different. You know, I mean, it's not quite a fingerprint. I wouldn't go that far, but it does leave the same markings from the same gun. The same tool will leave the same markings. And I'm sure that they're going to have pictures of it at a microscopic level and match them up. And the defense team can have their own experts test it. You know, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. And it is subjective. There's no doubt about it. It's not 100%.
So for me, that's a struggle. If this is such a, and I'm not a firearm person. I want to make that very clear to everybody. Even when I try to talk about it on my channel, like I don't know enough about guns, which is why I asked the question, because I know Ruckus will know the answers. But I don't. Yeah, I don't. I don't know a lot about firearms, and I'm not a tech person. So like those are my two out of my criteria. I don't have any experience with that stuff. I don't know the answers.
No, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to slip you up.
No.
Yeah.
No, I asked you for your honest answer, so that's why I wanted to know what you thought, if it would matter. But I think for me, my struggle is if this is when we go to arrest this guy, we have this unspent round.
Mm-hmm. They've had it for 5 years, right?
Right. We find a gun that we think matches it based on this firing, not firing, whatever you want to call it, and then we arrest him based on that.
Right.
If it's
I don't think that's the only thing they arrested him on. They called him in and talked to him. He was arrested that day that he talked to Holman. Now, those interviews / interrogations, gotchas, whatever you want to call them, they're very fluid. Usually the back door to the detective section, everyone that I've been in Florida anyways, you have to have your badge, your key card to open the door. They meet them in the parking lot. That's where the interview starts in the detective's mind. That's where you start building your interview right there. So it goes from hello, how you doing? Thanks for coming down to you're under arrest. Could happen in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. He had to have said something incriminating, something that only whoever committed the crime would know. Or there's different techniques. He could have told him, Holman could have said something that he knew was inaccurate about the crime scene, and Alan may have inadvertently corrected him. Shit like that. And we'll know all of that will come out as well. That interview will come out as well.
Right. And that's actually going to be more important to me about pushing me over the fence than any of the confessions. And I'll explain why. Because if he actually does say something in that interview on the 26th with Holman that only the killer would know, we know that he didn't have the crime scene, right? I mean, if he doesn't have crime scene photos, he doesn't have his discovery. Like so many people are like, they got his discovery, he freaked out, starts eating it and eating his poop. Like that's like the big thing. But if he's making confessions, even if they do include something that's accurate after reading his discovery, that's still problematic because now he does know shit about the crime scene.
Agreed.
So that's a problem. But if he says something in there, but according to the defense, and see, this is where I know that you have more faith on this side. According to the defense, one of the last statements Holman makes to him is, I know you're guilty of something and I'm going to prove it, and then puts him on a hold because he's not actually arrested on the 26th. He's detained they write up the probable cause affidavit. He's actually arrested on the 28th. So the probable cause affidavit doesn't say anything about what he says besides the fact that he doesn't let anybody else use the gun. That's the only thing. It says he doesn't let anybody else use the gun, and that he owns blue jackets and he has knives.
Now, were there any other injuries to the girls that the gun could have caused?
So, that's a great question. I was talking about this because from the last 3 days, nobody brought it up, but for a very long time, because I followed this case I followed it from the beginning, but I really got deep into it in the 2019 Switcheroo press conferences. And from that point on, I had been told, so this is not factual, but I had been told that Abby had injuries to the back of her head. They do not say that in these hearings, but they do make a statement that leads me to believe it's potentially true, is that she's actually killed where she's lying. That she doesn't really fight back like Libby's is totally different story. Or Abby's is essentially the state believes she was killed where she was lying, almost like she could have potentially been unconscious.
Now, does her autopsy say that her neck was cut and that she bled out?
So both of the death certificates say exsanguination, which is bleeding out.
Right.
Both death certificates say that. None of them say anything about blunt force trauma. So I don't. That's why I said it's not necessarily true. It's not factual. Nobody has confirmed that. We don't know. We haven't heard from an ME. So I don't want to put like bad info. Make sure you guys know that's not. That's total hearsay.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I haven't heard that either. I'm just asking the question.
Right.
Is there something else that could connect the gun to that scene, to the girls, and that they can connect it to his gun? Now, if they had that information, right, after the search warrant, they sent it to the lab. Even when you put a rush on it, and anybody in law enforcement will tell you this, it still takes forever because everybody puts a rush on their evidence. But if they get back that this gun matches the injury on one of the girls, maybe he poked it into their back to move them along. I'm just throwing this out there, speculation, but it matches. Would that sway you at all? And I'm not saying that's the case. It may not be the case.
It could.
If it is, because they're really confident that spent bullet, I mean, that ejected round is subjective. It is, but it's no more subjective than the ritualistic killing stuff. Because what if it turns out that Richard Allen did do this, and he doesn't even know why he did the sticks like that or anything like that? He's in the process of murdering 2 people. He's not in the right frame of mind. They do shit that they don't even realize. Cops get in shootouts and they unload 2 magazines and they'll tell you they only shot twice. You know, when your adrenaline's going, you know, your mind starts playing tricks on you.
I agree.
You get tunnel vision. But if there is a mark on one of the girls that matches his weapon, say he did pistol whip one of them or poke them, and from what I understand, his gun is not just a standard model. They only made so many of them.
It was a 6
yeah,
hour.
and that's why law enforcement blotted that out on the right side. They blotted that out. And Mr. Steve did a video on it where you can actually see the shadow of the gun on his pants.
Yep.
Of the barrel of the gun. So they blocked that out for a reason, because they didn't want whoever owned that gun to be able to say, shit, they can identify my gun. You know, it's not a standard issue. It's a special color or whatever it is. I haven't researched it, but then they were able to see, wow, he has this. That's a coincidence. Wow. It matches up to this ejection mark, and holy shit, it matches up to the injury on one of the girls. So he's going to have to explain this. How does he explain this? You put yourself at the scene, and I'm talking from LE point of view. You put yourself there. We didn't put you there. If you never stepped up, we probably never would have been talking to you. You put yourself there. You interjected yourself into this case, which happens a lot. There's a round there that matches your pistol, matches the ejection marks, matches some other rounds that you have in your home. And also an injury on one of the girls matches an injury that would be caused by maybe not your gun, but one just like it. And that may be what slipped him up. We don't know, though. And I agree with you. I want to see and hear more. I want him to plead guilty and be done with this, so the family doesn't have to put up with this shit, doesn't have to relive it again. He's got an appeal. No matter what, we probably both agree on that. No matter what happens, he's got grounds for an appeal. This has been a circus. It's been a circus. But he can plead guilty and then appeal his sentence. I mean, there's all kinds of things that he can do, because a lot of people are like, dude, you're nuts. Why would he plead guilty if he's going to get life anyways? Well, he may get life with a chance of parole. And again, like I said, he can appeal his sentencing. Keegan Kline tried that. It wasn't successful, but with this circus, this whole thing has been a mess. He's going to get an appeal either way.
Well, I will say that no matter who I listened to on any side of any fence, everybody said, which I was very, glad to hear that Gold was extremely professional, sat very attentive, listened to all sides, was very fair to everybody, even kind of joking around with a couple of them. And it seemed to be a very different courtroom than before, when the people like I know that continuously go, they said that you could feel the tension before. Like you'd walk in and you could feel how tense everybody in the courtroom was. And that these 3 days wasn't like that, besides some of the testimony just being hard to hear. That everybody got along. There was no issues with different people being there from different sides of the fence. So I mean, I'm like, shit, that's a fucking win in itself.
Well, we'll all find out together. I mean, I have my opinion. You know, I'm pretty firm on it. But you know, we'll all find out together. And like I said, I hope to hell that she allows cameras in their courtroom.
Maybe when they're all getting along now and everything is calmer, she may reconsider. I doubt it. But I mean, just listening to what's happened over the 3 days of hearings and different people's perspectives, and not even just the perspectives, but what they were able to hear and catch. You know, it's like parsing through Discovery yourself, trying to figure out what's accurate, what's not accurate, and take away their own interpretation of what they did here. So
I just saw this question on the screen. Susan, I don't know. I would imagine so, that they tested anybody that had a gun that would be able to shoot that caliber weapon, but there's a shitload of them. I'm a Glock guy myself, so I would be out.
There was always rumors that they were looking for a gun like that at the Maxwell's, and that they were looking, and they won't release the warrant for the Maxwell's house, which is very weird, under a FOIA request when nothing ever came of it. But because it was for Delphi, it's still under, you know, this case, so it is what it is. But they also, the rumor was that they were looking for the same gun at the Weber's house, and Brad Weber had owned a gun like that as well, and that they took his gun. Rumor.
Now, say nobody involved with this is guilty, Teresa. Say it's not Richard Allen and it's not the Odinist. Somebody's still out there. But look, and you have to consider this as well. It's a small town. Even though they had the FBI helping them, they obviously weren't getting along. Task Force never get along. I'm here to tell you. The GBI did a peer review on them, and they didn't come up with anything crazy. This is a messed up case. I mean, it's hard to work a case like this. If it happened in New York City, they'd be having the same problems. Outside of, you know, they have cameras everywhere. But I'm just saying, you can see the challenge that this case has brought. So with my experience, people that put themselves at the scene, and if there's physical evidence that ties them to that scene, and they go into an interview, and that interview leads to their arrest, they said something incriminating. Law enforcement keeps everything close to the vest for a reason. So it's only something the killer would know. And they don't have to directly ask them. They'll say something intentionally that's wrong and hope that they correct them.
Yep, and that's possible.
Correct.
We just don't know if it actually happened.
And they do it all the time. Now, I would hate to think in this country that we just go around and arrest people willy-nilly because there's a sheriff. There's a new sheriff election coming up. You know, good old boys alive and well. I'll admit to that. But corruption, there would have to be thousands and thousands of people involved with this. But if it turns out it's not Richard Allen, and it's not the Odinist, and it's somebody else, if it is Richard Allen, thank God he didn't kill anybody else that we know of. If it is the Odinist, thank God they haven't killed anybody else that we know of. But this has been a difficult case at best. But since his arrest, Richard Allen is probably the worst client that these two attorneys have ever had. He's done everything but give him a video of him doing this. He's confessing, not to law enforcement, but he is confessing. Now, are they quote unquote confessions, or are they just incriminating statements? We don't know that yet, but that's hard to get by. Talk to anybody you know that's a lawyer or works in law enforcement or anything like that and say, how hard is it to get past 60 confessions? That psychosis is subjective. When he was in psychosis, when he wasn't, you have a psychiatrist who is a professional, but usually, I mean, a psychologist, a psychiatrist usually does the diagnose. So
I'm pretty sure the psychiatrist is the one who did the actual diagnosis and did the prescriptions for the medication. If I understand everybody's notes correctly. It's a different doctor than Walla that took the stand. That did.
And I'm willing to bet that more than 80% of the people here in chat, I don't even know how many people are here, but have had depression, anxiety, have been prescribed medications for them throughout their life. That does not turn us. That does not turn us into homicidal maniacs. You can't use that. You can't say, well, it was already established that he was depressed and had anxiety. No shit. The doctor that was writing him his script probably is depressed and has anxiety too. Everybody does. You can't use that as a defense. That won't work. The psychosis won't work. It just won't. I'm just telling you, it won't work. So since his arrest, he hasn't been a good client at all. And once we hear these, if we ever do, Teresa, I hope we do, hear these confessions, because they're all either transcribed, depending which company they use, or they're recorded. And he was on audio and video at the prison. And he's going to be on audio and video at the jail as well. I'm sure they have a PC wing, ad seg, close management, whatever they want to call it. They all call it different things. But he's going to be under the same conditions there. But at least his attorney's across the street. I don't have a problem with that at all. At all. I think that's great.
I had a problem with that whatsoever. I think that and this is once again my understanding of the last 3 days of stuff. When it came to the confessions, there's video of his cell 24/7, but not audio, so nobody can hear those confessions. The prison calls are two separate companies, apparently. Maybe there was a switcheroo at the time. I don't know why there's two separate ones.
Maybe one for the phone on the wall and one for the tablet, Teresa.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe different.
That's a good point. Can he make calls from the tablet? I thought that was just writing like emails.
I'm not sure. I don't know if he can chirp from that, or I don't know. All that's amazing to me.
Technology.
I don't even know. I retired in 08, you know.
So apparently one company doesn't record, it only transcribes, and then the other company may have recordings, and that's what that Harshman guy had to go through and listen to I don't remember, somebody said it was like 600 hours or something like that of recordings, or I could not get a solid answer from anybody on exactly how much we're going to actually be able to hear versus the written stuff from like the suicide companions. And, I don't know what the ratio is of these we're going to hear.
I don't agree with that suicide companion shit either, Teresa. That drives me nuts. You're going to put an inmate with another inmate to talk to. I don't like that either, but I don't make the rules. Right. And neither does the defense team. So it's not even worth arguing over. That's the rules. Nobody's changed it. Nobody's filed any complaints about it. So that is what it is. You have to just take it. But it's hearsay, isn't it?
Well, the biggest part is that they're not supposed to actually talk to them. They're not supposed to have conversations with the inmate. And apparently they were exchanging all kinds of information about their lives.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, I would assume that it would be very hard to just sit there looking at somebody and never speaking a word or conversating. But the big issue comes to that one of those goes and gets on the phone and then calls his family, tells them what he says Richard Allen says, and then that person tells YouTubers about it, and then YouTubers make videos.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's come to. That's what it looks like anyway. But it's crazy. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with having. We used to call them trustees. They would come in and clean common areas and stuff like that. But both in the state and the county. But you don't want them conversing with the other people. He was in a section where only one inmate can come out at a time. There may be 10 cells in this hallway in a rec area. So you can come out and you can walk around, in the common area, or use the phone, or you can go out to rec or whatever, take a shower, whatever you want to do. But you can't have trustees in there during that time either. And here's another thing that's always pissed me off, that Bastone asshole. He's a fucking child molester, convicted. Yeah. And he starts shit at every prison he works at, so they keep him locked up because he knows what's going to happen if he goes on the compound. I've seen guys like him a million times. But, he's not a credible witness. I don't think these trustees are credible witnesses. I think it's hearsay. But if they have recordings, and here's the thing, and there would have to be a lot involved Teresa, for somebody on the staff to tell this inmate some intricate details about the crime scene to share with Richard Allen and get him to repeat. That's what they would have to do, because anything that trustee says, I'm not going to believe him unless it's something that there's no way this trustee could have known without Richard Allen telling him. But even then, how many times have you seen these guys get up on the stand? Oh, I was his cellmate. He told me that he did this. Okay. Are you getting offered anything for this? Well, yeah, I'm getting time off. Okay. Have a good day. See ya. It's like they're going to go after these experts and say, are you being paid for this? They all do it. Both sides. Of course they're being paid to do it. They're being paid for their time. They're experts, but that's what they'll do.
Those experts weren't paid they were actually hired by somebody else. So it was actually a very interesting trial because there was experts taking the stand that were paid by the DOJ and not for the defense or the prosecution.
But they were still getting paid. And some attorneys will use that so that the jury thinks that, oh, they're just saying whatever they get paid to say. Do you follow me? They use that
to
their advantage. Sure. But this whole thing is going to be interesting. I'm convinced that he's the guy. But he could be innocent. I'm just giving my opinion that I think that he is the guy. I have no doubt in my mind, none whatsoever. But you could be absolutely right about everything that you said. That's why I was asking you a lot of questions, because I know you're a fence sitter. But I know that you take everything into consideration. Now you lean a little bit towards the defense side, but I see that as a you want to make sure they got the right guy type.
Yeah, because I think that the state has to prove it, and my issue is having faith in the state and the law enforcement. So when Richard Allen was arrested, I did, I think, 2 lives on my channel. I had just started the channel at the time because I was on another channel before that. And I had just started my channel and I did 2 lives and I was like, look, they got the guy. Like we're finally headed in the right direction here. Like, we're on it. Like I was ultimate faith until when I was covering the Idaho 4 case in the summer, and and I think he's guilty. So I have no issue with people. That's why I always say I have no issue with people's opinions on what they think. I think that Brian Kohberger is absolutely guilty.
Yeah, I do too.
He's technically innocent right now until he's proven guilty in a court of law. But I think they got the right guy. So
he deserves due process.
But he does deserve due process. And where was I going with it? Oh, so his attorney was fighting to keep cameras out of the courtroom. And something came across, I don't even know what it was, but it said like that the Richard Allen's attorneys were fighting to get cameras in the courtroom. And I was like, what? And I was like, all right, let me look at this. So I went back and was reading all the articles and listening, because this was like in July. And so I did not follow or cover anything to do with that June hearing. So I went back and started like listening to people talk about the June hearing. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then that got me back in. And I was like, there's something wrong with what this law enforcement has done. Like, do they have the right guy? And then I started defense sit. I didn't have any Odinism stuff yet. That wasn't even a thing until like September when the Franks memo came out. And then I was like, okay, let me look at this. So I kind of just came up with like a theory of what I think for Richard Allen, if he's the guy. And I came up with a theory of what I think if I go with the defense theory. And I came up with my own thoughts on both. So I'm like, if Richard Allen did it, I came up with what I think his motive is, what I think when he got there, what he did, and then I came up with the opposite. If it's these 3 over here, then this is what they were doing and this is why they did it.
Sure. And you have to think like that. I'm knee deep in the Evansdale case, so I have to think like that. If there's somebody that checks boxes, I have to play like I'm a defense attorney. How can I defend those actions? How can I defend this and that and that? And then you turn into the prosecutor side, and that's when you want to interview these people. But it's all there with both of these sides. There's enough information out there to talk about it, but there's not enough information to argue about it.
I agree with that 100%.
And the Idaho 4 case, how we were just talking about the box blade and stuff, and in the coroner's report, that coroner amazed me. She was like, they were killed with a K-bar knife. And I was like, wow, that's pretty specific. She's on it. She's good. 2 days later, we found out they found the sheath at the crime scene.
Right.
Said K-bar on it.
She's a really good ME. She was exactly what she wasn't even the ME. She was the coroner. You were right. yeah.
That was funny though. That was fantastic. But we'll all find out together. We'll get more information. I have nothing but love for you. Always will. I think
Same.
you're a
Right back
fantastic
at you.
person. And thanks for the conversation. This has been great. And Blake, thanks for putting this together.
And Blake, do you have questions that you want us to answer? I know that we've been on here now for a little while. So do you have like anything in particular you want us to answer, or were you like watching comments? Is there anything in particular they want us to answer?
I was definitely scouring over the comments and making sure everyone was civil, but everyone was nice. It was good. No, I don't have too many questions. You guys pretty much hit the nail on the head. I'm ready to see more, information. I'm thinking about actually going to one of the court days in October, just to see everyone and see how it's going. But I haven't set an exact date. But that's if it even isn't continued, if it happens. But no, I think I pretty much know what I wanted to know. I definitely have been tuning into you guys both. Ruckus a little bit less because he's not on here as much, but yeah, every time you pop up,
Ruckus
I make
is
sure.
like, fuck Delphi. I'm going to do something else with my life.
I'm abrasive at best.
I love watching Ruckus. So I didn't know
times.
Ruckus actually went live at the same time I did yesterday, which I found out while I was live.
Yeah.
And so I went back and watched your live from last night. And I there was something that you said that I did want to touch on. It was something about like the pro-Constitution people. And I love your little analogies. I think you said like go play hide and go fuck yourself.
Yeah, go outside and play hide and go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were
like,
if
you're pro-Constitution, you'd still be going after Westville Prison.
So I actually had this conversation on a live the other day when we were just talking about this. And for me, like once there's the conviction, and don't get me wrong, and this is just my personal opinion, so anybody can have their own. Once there's that conviction in place, I know that there are people that are wrongfully convicted, but I for myself don't care as much. And I know that probably sounds terrible, but I
understand.
Like for Chad Dorman, I don't know if you followed that case at all. He just pled guilty yesterday. I could give two shits what happens to that fucking guy in prison.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit.
Those poor boys.
And Stephen Stearns with the Madeline Soto case. He's not convicted yet. And and the things that he did to Madeline Soto, like I'm with you. That guy gets convicted. He still deserves due process. And if they fuck that up, then they take away getting justice for Madeline Soto. So that's where I fall in that. So it's like a weird thing for me because I'm like, I don't care as much. Right. I don't know why that is, but I can only speak for myself that I know my feelings. And once they're done and it's done, I don't know. Like what happens to Robert Bastin? I am not somebody who's like fighting for.
Fuck him.
You see what I mean though? Like I don't know how to. I don't know if it sounds really fucking mean, but that's just how I am.
Yeah. But and again, this is just lawyers lawyering. They don't care about him either. But he's not a credible witness. Trustees are not credible witness. I don't trust any of those folks. It's not that they're not. Everybody makes mistakes, Teresa. I couldn't wait to get out of corrections. I hated it. It sucked. But people make mistakes, and you end up in prison or jail or whatever. It happens. They're not all bad people. I've met a shitload of people that I would probably be friends with if I knew them out on the street. But I've met people on the street that
should probably be
you want to kill. Yeah, you can't wait for them to go to jail. But
and I agree with that. I don't think anybody who's ever gone to jail or prison is like not redeemable in any sort. I just think there are those particular crimes specifically against children that I'm like, if it's you, it's you. And I think
they're horrific. Yeah, and there's no gray area. That guy did it. He killed his
really give a shit. I'm not going to go fight for I will not be fighting if they prove in a court of law that he is the guy, and that's the bottom line. I'm probably not going to think about him anymore.
I'm on the Evansdale now. I mean, I really don't talk about this case too much, just like the Idaho 4. I'm convinced of that one as well. In my opinion, means shit. I'm not a big channel, but I say what I want. I do what I want. So some people like it, some people don't like it, and it is what it is.
Just say what I want, and I do what I want. I talk to who I want, and if people choose to not like me for it, then that's their loss, not mine.
Hey, the way you deal with your tiny humans is awesome. Cracks me up. They'll interrupt you and you'll be like, hang on a second. You don't even mute the mic. Your parenting skills are top notch. It cracks me up listening to them. And I'm listening to them trying to get over on you too, and you're not falling for it, you know?
Oh, they try. They try. Well, 2 of them aren't even very fucking tiny anymore. They're like huge.
Yeah, well, wait until they get a hold of your car keys.
Well, one is about to. He's going to turn 16 in August. This
Yeah,
like in a couple, like 12 days.
Don't blink. I got grandbabies that age. But all right, Teresa, thank you so much. This is awesome. I've always wanted to get together and talk with you, whether on a live or just privately or whatever. I'm gonna put my number in the back chat. I don't know if you communicate with people outside of this or not, but you can call me anytime.
I would love to do something on Evansdale with you because I've always been interested in that case, but I don't know enough info. So if you ever have anything that you want to like talk about with that, I'd love to talk about it.
Sure. And it's worse than this one. It's worse than this case. It's aggravating as hell. But I'm getting ready to spend a lot of time there. So I'm going to do whatever I can. I may be able to do nothing, but I doubt it. I'm pretty tenacious. I piss people off. I know how to piss people off.
Can you get anything from like autopsy? Is any of that stuff public?
No, none of that is public. There's ways around shit. You have to be careful. If somebody confesses to me, that means nothing. I'm not an agent of law enforcement. So it's inadmissible. So I have to be careful how I do things. But I've got a good grip on it. And
I just didn't know how much I could like do for research purposes outside of watching family interviews.
Well, you have to be there. And I don't listen. My smartphone is as smart as anybody else's. My computer's as smart as anybody else's. I can look shit up as well. Sometimes you have to be there. You have to go piss these people off, Teresa. You have to talk with them. You have to show up when they don't expect you to show up and shit like that. Catch them off guard. Talk to them. Let them know that you're onto them and shit like that. Even if they're not a POI, but they're an orbiter of a POI. Shit gets around. It's almost as bad as YouTube. But shit gets around that, hey, this asshole from Boston's asking questions about you, But one way or another, I'm gonna find something out. So that's what I like doing. This stuff here, if it wasn't you, I wouldn't debate too many people. I didn't even think this was a debate. I think this was just a chat. But
well, that's what I said. Somebody popped in my chat yesterday, and they're like, "You're going to debate Ruckus?" I'm like, "We're having a debate." Like, I don't know if people are going to be very disappointed because we agree on a lot of things.
I'm not a good debater at all. I'm gonna go fuck yourself. If you all right, you know what? You pointing out very obvious things. Thanks. I'm out. I don't like being wrong. But I'll do this again with you anytime. I just put my phone number in the back chat. If you want to shoot me a text and just let me know it's you. So if you call, I know it's you. Yep. But I'll keep in touch with you while I'm out in Evansdale, and I'll let you know what's going on. I can't say too much. I hate to be a tease.
No, but, that's fine. Even if you could just give me places to find some, I literally only know just the overall of the crime itself, and obviously about the date of the crime and how it's inverted of the Delphi crime, and that's why people were connecting it so much. I just know very basic things. So even if you can point me in the direction of like where the best place is to get some research on it.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you met Drew, you'd fall in love with him. He's a great guy. I've spent a lot of time with Drew. He's a great guy. Larry Crumb's a great guy, Gail, you can call me. Someone probably put my phone number in the bathroom at the doghouse by now in Delphi.
I won't do
that. So, but all right, guys, you have a good night. I'm off like a prom dress. Don't take any wooden nickels.
Definitely not.
All right, see you later.
Bye, Ruckus.
Later, Ruckus.
Yeah, all right, I don't know. Is there anything else that you are curious about or want to know? Or I was trying to watch chat, but it was really hard to be engaged in the conversation and still watch. So I probably missed a ton of points and questions.
There was people from all sides, but everyone was civil. The smoking kitty cat was trying to get a little aggressive with the ban button, but I had to let him know not everyone's banned just because they have an opinion.
The smoky kitty cat. I love the smoky kitty cat.
Yeah, no, he's great. I've had him on here several times. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. again, I plan on going to the actual October court date if they keep it. At some point, I'd like to get a group together too, and also go out and see the bridge and just walk and just kind of check out the area out of curiosity. Different things like that. Is there anything else you think it's necessary we should know currently, or do you think most of it's pretty out there now?
I think we talked about a lot of the most recent stuff. It's really hard because we're talking about like 3 days of testimony based off of other people being there. But I think we talked about like the key points, the key points of the case. Like if you want background on the case, I mean, I can give you tons of background on the case of like old POIs and whatnot, but Fiends, I'll come up in debate.
I was gonna say, if you want to come, or if you're okay with talking still, I can give him a link.
I'm good. I have about 25-30 minutes, and then I gotta go cook dinner.
Alrighty, Fiend, that's your time limit. It's in the chat. Get it as quick as you can. Fiend's the only one allowed up. Yeah, because I think Mark just stopped in for a second.
Oh, Mark was here? I missed him.
But yeah, he was in here. He said he's just stopping in to say hi, and I said he's probably busy. Come on, Fiend, get it.
He's probably at work. He should be at work anyway.
He may be.
I'm not a mod.
I
can't drop my link tree, so people were asking about the transcripts. I have put in the request for the transcripts. She seems to be on vacation, but people have been donating. My link tree is on my page, and it's got PayPal, it's got Cash App, it's got Venmo, it's got any way of donating that you want to. And then I put it into like, I have like a little account that I just keep funding for this type of stuff, so I can get the transcript.
Here, can you put a comment real quick? I'll fix that for you.
Okay, hold on, let me grab it.
Well, I would say if you comment, I can make you a mod, then you can put it in.
Oh, just put a comment in. Okay, I'll do that first.
Yep.
I heard this was the debate place.
Dean, what are you going to debate?
Pineapple on pizza.
Oh, fuck no. That's gross.
You're wrong. Yeah, I think you're wrong. I like it.
No.
The moderator's jumping in. Yep. The moderator's on my side. Pineapple on pizza for sure, man.
I thought we could be friends, Bean. And like, why would anybody want warm fruit?
Because it's delicious. It's the juxtaposition of sweet and savory.
But it's warm fruit.
Yeah, it's cooked fruit. Cooked pineapple's great.
That's gross.
You grill pineapple, man. It's just
I don't.
Well,
all right.
You don't, but people do, and they love it.
You are now a mod, criminaliTy. You can
awesome.
Put whatever
Sweet.
you need.
I'll drop the link in really quick. So, okay, what else you got, Bean? You lost that one.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
I agree. Dang it.
I agree.
That's not a good debate topic. It's obviously a sandwich.
That's not a
yeah, it's a piece of meat between two pieces of bread. That's a fucking sandwich.
I think people argue that, like, because the bread is connected, it's not really two pieces of bread. Like, that's the idea. But I mean, I think you can make.
Okay, so then that means that means like when you bake bread, it's in a loaf. It's all connected.
Yeah, I'm
somebody cuts it up, doesn't make it any different.
I'm with you. Like, there's a lot of subs that are made like that. It's not actually two separate pieces of bread. It's still a sandwich.
Still a sandwich.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
Someone put in the comments, Subway is a sandwich as well, and it's the same way. So.
Do they still do it that way? Where they just carve like a?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't had Subway in a long time.
Let's see. That should work. That's my link tree. That has anywhere. If you guys want to contribute, feel free. I'll take all the help I can get, especially because if the attorneys don't request it, then that shit is going to be uber expensive, and we'll be getting like one at a time.
Is cereal soup?
No.
I also agree. I don't. It ain't no soup. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. A burrito bowl or a burrito, it would be a burrito, because even if you put a burrito in a bowl, it's still a fucking burrito. DB?
Oh, no, I mean
No, because it's not.
I mean, they call
it
it
doesn't have a
that, but
tortilla.
I don't think it's a burrito without a tortilla. That's what like the defining.
Isn't the tortilla at the bottom of the bowl like a salad, like a taco salad?
The whole purpose of the burrito bowl is to get rid of the tortilla.
Yep.
Oh, then it's not even a burrito. They can't even call it a burrito bowl.
Well,
I thought it was like a taco salad.
They do call it a burrito bowl.
Well, that's a lie.
It's false advertising. I agree. It's also I agree with you. It's a lie. No such thing as burrito bowls, and it's just a psyop to make you think that you're eating a burrito when you are not.
So, is a burrito a sandwich?
Oh, is a burrito a sandwich? I don't think so. A torta is a sandwich, right? No, what do they call them? There's some sort of Mexican sandwich, but it's a Mexican sandwich. It's like a sandwich. The burrito is a burrito.
Is pita bread or is it tortilla shell? I know everyone calls it bread, but I usually use it, gyros, etc., as a tortilla shell.
Really? Pitas? I probably eat pitas standalone as like a bread rather than a wrap of any sort.
Well, isn't pita like soft like a tortilla? I don't eat them, so I'm not 100%.
Yep.
It is soft,
Yep,
but it's significantly thicker. Like it's good for like dipping and stuff. Like bread.
Like bread.
Yeah. So I'd say it's definitely bread.
So it would be a sandwich.
What? A pita?
Yeah.
Well,
if you put stuff on a pita, it becomes a sandwich.
You'd have to make it into a sandwich.
But it could be a sandwich.
I think you could use pita and make a sandwich out of it. Nothing wrong with that. I haven't seen many people do that, but I'd eat it.
So here's a question. What do you call a moose with no name?
A moose with no name. I can't
Not
answer
Rocky.
that. Fiend, do you know?
It's an anonymous.
No. Okay.
It's good.
Stupidest fucking joke.
That's a good one. Did not see that coming.
It's a tiny human joke. It totally is. It's an anonymous. That's a total tiny human joke. Except for his joke is, did you know that the men or boys have 3 knees?
Uh-oh. I don't know. This one sounds dangerous.
So you have a right knee.
This sounds like a trap.
You have a left knee and you have a weenie. It's so funny.
This was supposed to be a debate.
So was that a funny joke or not?
Descended into anarchy.
This is what happens. You get me on here for almost 2 hours, shit just goes crazy.
I thought when Fiend was coming on, he was going to be serious too, and then it descended pretty quick.
All right, what else you got for debate?
Which came first, chicken or the egg?
The chicken.
I used to have a thought out process on this, but I completely forget what it was.
Actually, I'm gonna change it, and I'm gonna go back to it's the egg.
The egg? Yeah, I think you have to have the egg, right?
I think it's the egg.
I think it's the egg.
Yeah,
I think the egg.
Logically, it has to be the egg.
I think it's the egg.
Because at some point there was a first chicken, but that first chicken still hatched from an egg.
Or did it?
The egg had to come first. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's what I think too. That's why I changed it to egg. I think that in evolution, you have to have 2 other animals that create a chicken, and in order for that chicken to be able to lay eggs, it came from something that laid eggs.
Hold on.
Well, almost everything
Mark
actually
said,
comes from eggs, right?
So the egg came first.
Mark said he's taking on
Yeah.
Fiend next.
Well, that's not really
Oh,
fair
man.
because the dragon came from an egg.
Dragons also come from egg. Oh, I don't know. Dragons are real. Not. I think there's lack of historical evidence.
Hold it.
I think I could show you a lot of films that all had dragon
documenting
eggs.
that dragons ever existed.
Hold it.
It's an out there opinion, but until
wanna
they
debate
come
Sir
up with
Teddy, are you okay?
dragons.
Get fucked, Mark. You're not next. It's me.
All right, what do you got? What do you got, Teddy?
Hey,
What's up, Teddy?
hey. What?
Hey.
What do you call a pile of cats?
A pound of pussy?
Oh, jeez.
I'm getting some echo. I don't know what the hell's going on here. It's called a meowton.
A meowton? Oh, you went totally with a dad joke, and I went totally dirty because it was you.
Yep. See, I constantly you always got to think.
All right, you won that debate.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you call
Teddy
a
keeps you
bicycle that
on
fell
your
over?
toes.
Too tired.
Isn't it too tired when it's stand up too, though? Teddy, that doesn't make any sense.
See, this is why you can't solve cases, Fiend, because you overthink things. Enough of that.
I'm just the skeptic, man.
It's your problem, dude. Come on. Dude, I got to be honest with you. I feel really bad. I was at the store today and I walked right past the peanut butter kashi cereal. I thought of you.
Oh, dude, you're missing out.
I know.
It's so
Someday.
good. So
Someday.
good. It's good for you too.
Is it on the food pyramid?
It's got a lot of protein in it, man. It's like I highly recommend. You know, there's certain products that I really back, and there's not a lot of them, but peanut butter, Go Lean Crunch, Kashi cereal is definitely one of them.
I went with the Fruity Pebble Waffle Crisp. I've been wanting to try it for
Oh
a long
man,
time.
that's probably not nearly as healthy.
No, probably not. I'm here for a short time, not a long time.
Yeah.
And I didn't say a good time. I just said a short time.
I'm just speeding it up.
Yep.
I can't say much. My Sam's Club had it's like a 48-ounce box of Count Chocula I had to pick up.
You can't get that outside of Halloween. Come on.
I'm telling you, they had it.
Sam's Club is where you used to be able to get a big box of the Kashi cereal. There wasn't the peanut butter kind. It was just like the regular one. But like, you know, it's way cheaper if you buy it in bulk. Like cereal is crazy expensive. It just no reason for it.
No, it's ridiculous.
Teddy, you got some tension between you and Mark, man?
I got a question for you
dude.
guys.
It's like the Jews and the gingers. I don't know what it is. It's the J sounds. Like, where's Waldo over here is just angry that he's not up here debating the cat. Got here first, bro.
So I got a question for you guys on this debate.
Okay.
What is the best version of the Reese's peanut butter cup?
Oh man,
Christmas trees.
No, I just recently had one of the thin ones, and I really like that one.
No,
you ever had the skinny, the thin Reese's?
Yeah, because I'm not huge on peanut butter, and I agree with Fiend. The thin ones, it's the perfect balance.
It was really good. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I tried it and I was like, yeah, that's good.
Blake?
Oh, was I muted or something?
He said the thin ones.
Oh, you said the thin ones too.
Yeah,
I like
no,
the
they're the perfect balance.
Perfect balance. It's the egg from Easter. That is the perfect ratio of peanut butter to chocolate.
I saw they came out with like Olympic medal ones just recently. I haven't tried that one yet.
I haven't tried that one yet either. I might have to try that one. But as of right now in life, it is the egg, the Easter egg Reese's cup.
Did you ever have the Reese's
I haven't tried
outrageous with the
those either.
Reese's Pieces in them? Those are the best.
I don't
Probably
like
the best. That's probably the best candy bar out right now.
Oh, I think maybe I did have one of those one time.
So
now Okay, so here's another question. When you eat popcorn, do you put candy in it?
No.
Oh no, that's
No, just
I'll buy it
just a
from the
little bit of
store in
salt.
like a
That's
pre-made bag with
good.
some candy in it, but not if I make it. Hell no.
T. Do you put candy in your popcorn?
Hell yeah, I do. Candy and popcorn is the best shit. Reese's Pieces, Reese's Pieces, or peanut M&Ms.
Okay, peanut M&Ms are good. I would probably go try the peanut M&Ms and popcorn, but I'm not a big sweet popcorn person. I think popcorn should be like on the savory side.
But you don't. But you like the sweet and savory, so you should try it.
No, I don't actually like the sweet and savory. I kind of make an exception for
Unless
pineapple.
it's Kashi peanut butter cereal, there's no sweet. It's just savory with Fiend.
I do prefer savory things, but I mean I like some sweet things.
You
Like
like
what?
me, and I'm sweet.
Mhm.
Mhm. Everybody will agree.
Yes, T
I
is
agree.
Everyone in the chat, put a 1 to agree.
Person says popcorn with tapatio. Oh my gosh, you two are confusing. The one who doesn't like pineapple on pizza doesn't want sweet candy, and the opposite with the other. Yes, he likes pineapple on pizza, and I want chocolate in my popcorn. He's gonna try it.
No one said it was going to make any sense.
But it works.
Now, Fiend, I have a question. When you have pineapple on your pizza, do you do it with barbecue sauce or the regular marinara? Because I can't do it with the marinara. I have to have barbecue.
Yeah, I think you can go either way. I like both. I mean, I'll get down with either.
Okay, so hold on. I got to go back to
this-
the chicken and an egg thing. Because Travis makes a very good point. If two other animals create the egg that the chicken comes out of, was the egg first or was the chicken?
It was divine intervention. Come
No,
on.
the egg is first because the first chicken has to come from somewhere, and it came from an egg.
But what if it didn't? What if it got that genetic from its dad?
Well, I'm not going to entertain like
It's the Mary Magdalene egg.
creationism like type of explanation.
Oh, so you really don't. You don't want an actual debate. We just want to talk about pineapple and
Well,
candy.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I don't have
Fiend
time
might
for
be
that
afraid
debate.
of you.
Yeah, the thing that gets too deep if you start allowing for the chicken to just spontaneously exist.
Peter at the gates erased all the interviews, so we have no idea. You know I'm right. I mean, now everybody's going to be on either side, and we're going to have another debate.
That's okay.
Gamby
As long as
Gamby
it's
said
a
that
friendly
he ordered
debate.
a chicken and an egg, and whichever one arrives first will be the answer.
Yeah, that is a scientific way of testing it.
An egg rolls a lot faster than a chicken, so I'm going with the egg.
But if she ordered them both from Amazon, what if the chicken comes prime and the egg doesn't?
I'll have to ask Uncle Jeff directly. I don't know. My Prime membership sometimes gets things here in a day, sometimes 2 days. Sometimes it just keeps giving me emails saying, hey, your delivery's been extended for another week. And I go, okay, Uncle Jeff. Yeah. We're living in 1990.
I can get some stuff delivered same day. I'm like kind of rural.
I mean, I'm not super rural, but some things they just say fuck off, and I gotta wait. I don't know.
Like you're probably gonna have to like timestamp your your live.
After Ruckus leaves, there's
a Delphi debate versus just debating whatever the hell we want to.
Right.
Mind your own business. This is our channel. This is what we do.
I mean, Fiend brought up some pretty good points, so we had to discuss.
Yeah. Fiend, you make that video yet that I suggested?
Nope. Still on the to-do list.
Damn it.
What was your suggestion?
Fiend, when's he need for him to make a short video making a lore story on his kitty cat logo.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I keep promising it just because that's kind of like the whole psyop thing. It's just like you think there's another episode coming, but there probably isn't.
Peggy has a Delphi question. Was the phone turned on at 4:33?
Oh man, we didn't get to talk to Ruckus about that. We'll have to do that on the next one. We didn't get to talk about why the
I mean,
text messages came through.
It seems pretty clear that, like, I mean, of all the things that we don't know, I feel like this is one piece of information that we kind of do know now. And like, that has to be the case. The phone had to turn back on at 4:33 a.m.
Right, but why would somebody go down there specifically to turn the phone on?
Well, I mean, I think that yeah, I mean, you have to think about like the possibilities here. One, maybe the crime happened in at 4 a.m. and or the scene was staged at 4 a.m. And then one of the last things they do is turn the phone back on. And the only reason I can really think about like why anybody would do that is like they wanted it to be of possible assistance in locating the bodies.
The thing that I can't get behind with all of that is no matter what way you bring those bodies back to that spot, it's fucking rough. So
I mean, I disagree because I've watched if you're doing it from the back of the cemetery,
down
with 2 or 3 people, I don't think it's that
right
at all.
But at that point, like if you're watching that area, you just took 2 girls from that area. You expect somebody, like, people are out there looking. Yeah, the official search was over, but there's still people out there. You're gonna try to bring 2 girls over your shoulder back down a steep hill to lay them down in this exact area. It makes no sense.
It's not gonna be over the shoulder if you got multiple people.
Okay, so they drag them, 2 people on their legs, 2 people on their arms, but what's the point of doing that? It makes 0 sense to me. If you were gonna kill somebody, you put them anywhere.
I
agree.
Well, I think most of us can agree that without a doubt, Libby was killed right there. Now, the time she was killed there is very different, depending on who you talk to. But I don't think there's any bringing Libby back deceased.
Right.
I think she was killed.
And now that we have the whole info with Abby, with all the blood soaked into the hoodie, it would make sense to me like whoever did it, in air quotes, knocked Abby out. She was laying down. She was out of the picture. And then whatever happened with Libby happened. And then after the fact, whoever did it went, hey, there's this other person here that I knocked out. I should probably kill them too so they can't identify me or whatever. So they killed her right where they were. That makes sense to me. But
not really. There's still like, why were they both undressed at some point? And why was
that
Abby
was my question.
Redressed before she was killed? I don't know. All of the circumstances are probably even more strange just knowing a couple of additional details.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, when I heard the whole she wasn't redressed, I go, how do you figure? She had Libby's hoodie on, she had her jeans on, and if you look at the photos, like the jeans are undone. So I don't think she would have undone her own jeans out of choice with some creepy guy behind them forcing them down a hill. Like she was obviously redressed at some point, but I get it.
Or redressed herself in Libby's
could be, but like the way that it was put, it sounded like she never took her own clothes off. It's like, why were there some clothes in the creek and then some clothes stayed there? That's kind of weird.
Dressed in Libby's clothes, so we know that she had to not be in her own clothes at some point.
Right.
I don't know. It's strange. I don't understand. This is where like it'd be really great if the state would kind of like walk us through as far as what the fuck do you think actually happened here? Like, you're saying it's this guy. Like, walk us through what he did. What do you think actually happened? Typically you'd kind of lay a lot of that out in the PCA, but of course, they don't even get close to doing anything like that, and they still haven't gotten that close to doing anything like that. We're just getting like miscellaneous little tidbits of details regarding the crime scene, and in times like the phone turns back on. I mean, like, make it make sense. Who like what happened?
Right. That's my biggest problem with the whole thing is that they made everything so secretive. Like, I get if you think they were killed with a bladed weapon, but you also think that the guy had a gun on him. Yeah, I get why you wouldn't say certain things, but at the end of the day, you make all these people come up with conspiracy after conspiracy when you could have just stated what happened. That's not going to have any impact on the person who actually did it as far as them getting rid of something. Like, why would you do that? That's the biggest mistake that they made out of everything.
I mean, I
Because
do think,
look,
I think that where they were, they were clearly wanting the public's assistance on this, yet they definitely didn't give the public anything to work with.
no.
Which is a bad combination, and it led to nothing happening on the case for years over years.
Yep. Well, even now with the whole no cameras in the courtroom, everybody's had all these different things that they've postulated as to why that's the case. It's like, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. If you're worried about somebody going after someone else while court is in session, I mean, that's kind of bullshit. Cameras would preclude somebody from doing that because they don't want to look like a fool on national television. So why don't you just let people see so you don't have a million people afterwards, no matter what the verdict is, calling bullshit because it's going to happen. And the other thing is, it's a small town. You're going to have people from all over hell's half creation coming over there. Why would you want that for such a small area? Even if you know that there's only going to be a certain amount of people that get in, but you're going to have court staff dicking around with people, trying to get people to settle down when they don't get in and they've been waiting since 2 a.m. And it's like, it's so stupid. Let one camera in there, or let, an audio recorder, whoever you want in there. Put it
From
on
my
a
understanding,
timer.
that courtroom already has cameras, so there should be no reason that she can't just stream it.
Zing. Well, you just proved my point.
Well, that's from somebody who was in that courtroom at one time, apparently. So
I wouldn't jump to the conclusion that there's definitely not going to be, probably not before trial, probably not for any pretrial hearings. I mean, I think, just that they weren't allowed for this pretrial hearing. I think that you would expect the same for other ones, but I wouldn't rule out that she'll, she's going to make her own decision and do this however she wants to do it. But I wouldn't rule out that they, in a very controlled fashion, do allow a video stream. I mean, I just think it's kind of like 50-50. I don't know which, I think it's a jump in getting into the mind of Judge Gull and what she's going to do on something. She's not an easy one to predict, really. I think people always want to say that, she just deny, but I don't think that's actually the case. I don't think that she's processing decisions as she goes. I don't think it's always unbiased, but I do think
I hope you're right.
thinking about it.
So I do have to hop off, Blake, though. I wanted to let you know, thank you for having me up here. And thank you, gentlemen, for
you're welcome
awesome
anytime.
On food items. I appreciate it as well.
Thanks for the debate.
Thanks, T.
So I'll talk to all you guys soon. I'll be listening while I cook.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Have a good one.
Yeah. So I think with the way that she's been denying every motion from media outlets, at this point, I don't think she's going to let cameras in, but who knows? The stuff has come down to the wire.
Yeah, I think that's all just limited to, like, if you're getting a motion from WTHR, that's going to be denied. Like whatever if she does allow it, it's going to be like in a controlled fashion where she is actually on her own motion, kind of like doing something. I think requesting it, unless they unless somebody big time, a big corporation gets their lawyers together and really goes after it. I don't think there's anything's going to happen. She's not going to just say yes to somebody asking for a camera. Yeah. That part I think is like pretty clear, but I wouldn't rule out that she'll allow it in some fashion. I mean, maybe it's even a long shot, but I still wouldn't rule it out.
The only good part is everybody that has had bad feelings against Gall, they all said that she did a really good job over the last couple of days. And I mean, it was hard for everybody from the sounds of it, just sitting there for that long. But it's nice to finally hear that people on both sides are like, hey, she did a decent job presiding over everything. She really didn't take sides. Like, that's good to hear. If
And
anything
there might be
else.
something to that, as far as like these are actually like regular hearings instead of like some of the crazy stuff. Like the contempt hearing was a crazy thing to be doing. So like I get that like people are getting worked up and acting silly because it's stupid. And like,
Yeah.
one of the things that that jumped out at me as far as when they got to the motion in limine, she read the first page of it and was like, you're kidding me, right? Like, we're not going to actually, you guys aren't going to argue this stuff. Like, this is stupid. And then they were like, well, Nick's like, well, and she's like, no, no, we're not doing that.
I mean, at a certain point, some of the shit that's being said has to be considered stupid.
Well, I mean, the stuff that was the early parts of the motion in limine were like, well, you have to follow the code of conduct, and you can't say bad things about the other attorney, and you can't they were like, yeah, but like that's what she was saying. Like that's I assume that your guys are gonna follow like normal code of conduct. I'm not gonna have you argue whether you should or you shouldn't. You obviously all should. It's not something you put in a motion to eliminate. That's dumb.
Right. Well, and it's also, if you have stuff to say, like if you actually have a point that has merit, you shouldn't need to attack the other side. You should just be able to state your point, and then that's it. There's nothing else to it.
Right.
If the
The other parts of the motion in limine, yeah. I mean, it's expected that the state might request some of these things not be allowed in, and I don't know. I mean, I have no idea how she's going to rule on all that stuff. I would kind of expect a mixed bag of some stuff comes in and some stuff doesn't, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. I struggle with it because I don't put much faith in people, but no matter what is allowed in, I feel like people that are coming into this with not a lot of background like we have, I feel like people will be able to parse through the bullshit once all the facts that they have come out. Even if they're not, dead to rights, this guy did it, whatever. People will be able to pick things apart. Like, I do have faith in that, of all things. So
I
I'm
think it'll be
hoping.
really hard for people to do that if it's not televised. I mean, it's hard to get the information second or third hand and like actually make a decision for yourself.
Well, jury to jury, it's hard because if you're the one person that's the odd man out, you're gonna have a difficult time. But I feel like with how long it's gonna be, like if it's 4 weeks, whatever it is, you're gonna have these people together constantly. They can't talk to anybody. They can't watch anything. They're gonna be talking it over day after day.
Oh yeah, the jury's a whole different situation. I think the jury will be fine to make up their mind on stuff. I meant for like people that like monitor stuff. Like, I mean, I think it's kind of silly for people to it's maybe something that Bob from Defense Diaries says a lot. Like jump into like a conclusion on any of these cases before you see any evidence. Like the contested cases where there's certain people think someone's guilty and certain people don't. Like, if you haven't seen any of the evidence, like you don't know. Like
Right.
if you want to watch the whole trial and watch what comes out in the trial, the evidence and the actual testimony, and then make an informed decision based on what you actually witnessed. Like, I think that's fair, but like that's the point to do it. Like doing it like now, like it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, I get people are going to have strong feelings, but I don't think it's anything more than a feeling.
Right. And I think we all have strong feelings because, again, we're the ones that are looking into it. but we don't know. We don't have all the pieces together. We have parts of it, and there are certain parts of it that sound like bullshit. So we're constantly going, hey, this makes no sense. You came out with certain answers, but it brings us more questions. What the hell do we do? That might be the case after they lay out everything. They talk about what they investigated and how they investigated it. And if they're truthful, there's probably a lot of stuff that the normal person would go, that doesn't seem right to me. But it doesn't necessarily extend to guilt or innocence. But
I mean, it's gonna
that's
be a
the
hard time where they're defending the integrity of their investigation, because
yeah.
looking at it like that's where a lot of the flack comes, is like, we can see where this was a bad investigation, and we can see like inappropriate things happening and bad things happening, and the attention to detail and the care and the diligence. Like, where are any of those things? Like, I feel like it's completely fine to criticize them because of how plainly evident it is.
Yeah.
I mean, but we don't know for sure. I don't know. One of the things that kind of crossed my mind, kind of recently, and I'm sure I've heard people kind of like float this, and I probably just didn't give it enough consideration. But like, I mean, maybe the explanation that they didn't follow up with Richard Allen for like a second interview is because he legitimately was on their radar this entire time. Maybe they did know about him this entire time, and that's what makes it look bad for them, is that they just didn't have enough or anything to go off of. But they also didn't want to like follow up with him like early to spook him. I mean, I don't understand the reasoning behind it, why anybody would do that, but maybe it's a possibility.
I don't understand it either. And to be honest with you, in my perspective, is that everything that they said in the beginning of how they got to Richard Allen, with the tip being filed wrongly with the wrong name and everything else, like, I believe that. I just
I
don't
mean,
believe
no,
that.
they can't believe that. The FBI said they were straight up
But,
lying when they said that.
well, my point is, I don't believe that they found him because they went back through right after that river search, and they went back through and looked at everybody, and they said, "Oh, hey, what about this guy?" And they went through and said, "Oh, it's not Richard Allen Whiteman, it's Richard Allen." I don't believe any of that. I think something happened. Somebody said something, or they found some sort of evidence. I don't know what it is,
I don't know.
but
I don't really. I don't question that. I kind of take them at their word that this tip resurfaced, and that's kind of what. And they brought it to Liggett, and he looked at it, and he was like, "Hey, I've got a hunch here." But
that's
of course,
probably
but like, it's also like, well, what the fuck happened like years ago?
right.
Like,
Right. Then that's what I mean. Like, I could be completely wrong. I think for me, what's in my brain right now, and I know that we found out about the river search and Kagan Klein lied and whatever he did, but it just seems weird to me that they did that whole weeks long river search, and then right afterwards they had a month before they arrested him. Like that
I
that's
mean, that's why
sketchy to
people
me.
really want to like, like believe in some correlation to that, and they seem to be pretty adamant that that's not what happened. So again, I think I'm like leaning towards believing them on that. And I mean, I think that you see that how badly Keegan Klein got hammered. Like, he obviously did terrible things, but like, the what his sentencing, it was not typical for what generally happens for
Well,
somebody that does something similar, although maybe it should, because
let me ask you a
they're
question
horrendous
then.
crimes. But you can see why they really nailed him, because he I mean, he fucked with them. He caused like, I mean, how much did that fucking river search cost? Like,
Right.
don't cut this guy a break. Look what he's dicking you around.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I mean, this could be me not understanding what actually happened, but after the river search, didn't they take off certain charges from him, or was that before they did the whole river search and took him
That's
out of
just
custody?
the standard procedure stuff, where like there's certain charges that they just can't like actually include. And I
Right.
mean, it didn't change anything for his like sentencing or anything. It wasn't not like he got time off for that. Like it just didn't. It wasn't relevant, and there wasn't enough evidence to prove that particular charge. And
Yeah, it
that happens
sucks.
a lot in the sort of cases. Like if you can't tell whether someone's an adult or because you don't have enough information about them.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks either way because the guy's a piece of shit no matter what way you slice it, even if he had something to do with the case. But it's always been so weird to me that you have this whole news story like, oh yeah, these people are searching this river, and then you have all of September where nothing's going on, and then all of a sudden they arrest this guy out of left field, and that's obviously where everybody's coming from
Well,
because
I mean, I think they were. I mean, I don't think there's like zero correlation. I do think that like they were probably buying what Keegan Klein was telling them, and they were really hoping that they were going to turn up something in the search, and that was going to break the case wide open. And they spent millions of dollars on doing it, and they come up with nothing. And I think that like everybody's disappointed, and that's where you get someone like chomping at the bit and being like, "We need to make something happen." Like I just think the frustration was so built up that like, I don't, I think that when opportunity presented itself of this new tip surfacing, they were like, maybe that's the guy that did it. I bet that's the guy that did it. And then they just had their blinders on and just, they just couldn't see outside of that, no matter what.
I really hope that that's what they did. If that's how they came to Richard Allen was after the whole Keegan Klein thing, they had no other options other than to go back through the tips. Like as bad as it makes the investigation look, I really hope that that's what it was because it would make things make sense based off of what we know
I know,
now.
but the thing is that makes it weird is there's like, we haven't heard it yet, but there's a very, very specific and good reason that his tip was not followed up on in the first place. And, I do find it like, I mean, it's possible that like, he was considered as a suspect and they didn't want, all this time and they didn't want to like, jump the gun and spook
Yeah,
him
but
by
could
following up. But I don't find that all that plausible. I think there's a different reason that his tip was considered either not relevant or not reliable. Like they didn't believe what he said. Like I don't believe that it was misfiled. It's right there in the Orion system. It's clearly in there. It's got a number. Like it wasn't lost. That's what the FBI said. That's ridiculous.
I
Like it
think so
wasn't
too.
misfiled
Yeah.
or lost. That's not even how the fucking thing works. That's not reality.
Well, the thing is though, they have all these statements from all these people who were walking the trail that day. The one person who you haven't heard anything about for 6 years is him, and he actually says that he was on the bridge. The other people didn't
Well,
say they were
see,
on the
I
bridge.
mean, that's that. That's. I mean, it sounds crazy, but like the tip narrative does not say that it was that day. So, is that the reason that they considered it? This isn't relevant to anything.
Yeah, but
Like
isn't the
if he
reason
goes
why
there
he
and
came to Doolin
if
was
he's
because
talking
he said
about
he was there that
Sunday,
day?
if he's talking about Sunday, like who cares that if he was there Sunday? Like man, like we're wasting all these
Right.
resources talking to people, and they're telling us they were there the day before. Like don't care.
Right,
And
but I
then,
thought the reason that he
that's
talked
how
to
they've
him,
got it filed.
the reason that he talked to him to begin with, like if you were there on the Wednesday before, why would you ever go and talk to them? It makes no sense. Like they
Well,
were
we don't
looking
know
for
anything
people
about
there
him.
that day.
Maybe he's just a weird guy and does that. I don't
Well,
know.
he's obviously a weird guy, no matter what his guilt or innocence is. Like I think he's a weird guy, but the reason that he went and talked to him is because he was there that day and he let him know, like, hey,
I mean,
yeah, I was there
that's
that day.
assumed. Like we don't have the tip narrative does not say that though.
I'd have to go back. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but
Uh,
I thought
I can have the tip narrative in front of me in just a minute. You want to read through it? It's pretty short.
hell yeah, let's do
I
it.
think it's really interesting to revisit it.
Well, it's interesting to me, like I said before when I was commenting in the chat, I was like, why would you tell them after the fact, supposedly, because I don't know where it's written down, but why would you tell them that you were wearing the same shit the guy in the video was wearing. You obviously know that that's.
I mean, yeah, and that's a completely different. That's years and years and years later. Nothing about that is in the tip narrative. Here's how they got to the search warrant, and there's a couple of differences between this and when they published it in the PCA, and but they're very minor. On September 21st, 2022, Detective Liggett was provided a tip narrative from Orion DIN C000074-01 to review. 74 means that it's the 74th entry on this case.
Yep.
And it is. That's where it is. That's where it's been this entire time. It was from DNR Lieutenant Dan Doolin. And when this is where I'll know what they changed when they published this in the PCA. They don't say that it was brought from Dan Doolin. They say that it was from generically investigators, which I think is a weird change to make, because why just remove Dan Doolin's name? Like, if it was Dan Doolin, don't you just say it's Dan Doolin? Why are you revising that and being like, well, maybe it wasn't Dan Doolin? Well, maybe it wasn't Dan Doolin. The narrative was as follows. Mr. Allen was on the trail 1330-1530. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember a description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He did not see anybody, although stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were a vehicle parked at the High Bridge trailhead. However, he did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or video. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but did have the following, and they provide the MEID number, and the MEID HEX number. And I believe that is the one that's maybe potentially missing a digit. Potential follow-up information. Who are the 3 girls walking in the area of the Freedom Bridge? You would completely assume that applies to that day, but it doesn't state a date. It doesn't say what date it was from.
So,
but that's all of it. That's what was brought, and that's what launched. Expected.
And I agree with that. I mean, me personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't know why anybody would say anything to anybody if they were there on a day other than the day in question. But
I mean, you get tons of crackpots in a case like this, man.
Right.
They got tens of thousands of tips, and some of them are complete utter bullshit.
Right. No, I agree with that. I'm not saying that there couldn't be something else to that. The thing that I think is really odd is that throughout the prosecution's timeline, which I am not saying is 100% correct at all, but the fact that there are 3 girls on the trail, and he says he saw 3 girls on the trail.
Well, I mean, I've got a problem with that, because what we know about the ones that are supposedly used as witnesses, it was a group of 4 girls, and he says he saw 3 girls. So how did you look at 4 girls and say 3 girls?
Right, but hold on for a second. So that could be a thing, absolutely. I'm not denying that. But then the fact that, according to law enforcement, he said he had whatever clothes he had on, plus a face covering, plus a hood, plus a hat, all this other stuff. My biggest thing about the person on the bridge, hold on. The biggest thing that I have about the person on the bridge, why were they so covered up? Everybody else that day, when you look at the few pictures that you can see, nobody wanted to wear anything warm. Like, if you're from a cold area, as soon as the weather starts to warm up a little bit, you want everything off of you.
I think everybody's different, man.
Right. No, it's true. But I think it could go either way when you talk about stuff like that. But the fact that,
I don't think
they say that,
I don't think that we can tell I don't think we can tell anything by looking at the photo or the quote unquote video, the frames of bridge guys. As far as
come on.
What?
Come on. You
What?
can't tell that he's bundled up.
Wearing a jacket. I mean,
He's got a
jacket and
jacket.
jeans. I'll give you, but
You
like
can
beyond
you
that,
can
I can't
tell you
do
can tell he's got a jacket on. He's got a hood on and he's got a
I
hat.
can't.
I can tell
dude.
that.
I cannot tell from that. I don't think that. I think if it was
You
actually,
can't tell what his face is. I'll give you that. You cannot
I
say for
can't.
certain what
I
his
can't
face is,
tell
but
that he for sure that he has a hat, dude. I've looked at it and thought that it was maybe his hair. I don't. I can't tell.
why would you have a jacket and a hoodie? Like, it's not that cold, dude. Even that,
I mean,
without the hat. And there's
so
got to be some type of.
so this is one of the things. Like I throw that the video frames, like, man, they're garbage. But I
They
do think
are.
I think it's interesting that multiple witnesses describe seeing somebody that where they very specifically say that they couldn't see his face or that his face was covered. And I think that, like, okay, now you've got some consistency between some witness statements. So I do think that someone was covering their face.
Right. So if what is said by law enforcement is correct, which I don't know if it is, does that
I
not
mean,
line up that he said he thinks he might have had some sort of face
yeah,
covering
I mean,
on?
well, so this is going back to what T kind of like said. And often goes to who you trust. Like, are you trusting law enforcement
I
to
don't trust anybody.
accurately represent what he stated? They're not quoting him.
Dude,
They,
I don't trust
they don't
anyone.
put Richard Allen said this. Here's quote from Richard Allen. They definitely didn't do that. So they're kind of paraphrasing everything here. Like, I don't know. Like, did he say that he was wearing the exact same things? I don't know. Would it even be? Is it even that weird that he was wearing like similar sort of clothing? No. Like,
Well,
any
here's the reason
February
why I think
day,
it's weird.
I'm wearing similar sort of clothing. Whatever.
Here's the reason why I think it's weird. And it's the only reason why I think it's weird is because you cannot tell me that Richard Allen did not see that video. Why the fuck? Like, even if I was there and I had nothing to do with
It's
it,
just assuming too much because everybody has different levels of like what they pay attention to. Like, I mean, he thought enough of it to that there's something going on in town that he volunteered an early statement, and then that was it. Like, I don't know that we would assume anything more than that. I don't like automatically assume that he's gonna exactly remember what he was doing that day, years and years, or what he was wearing that day, years and years later. I'm sure that they tried to get it out of him, and he may have said stuff, but like, is any of it accurate? No idea.
Fiend, I don't assume either. And at this point, with all the shit that's gone on with this case, and no matter what comes out, if a prosecutor or an investigator, whoever gets up on the stand and says something, everybody is going to have a split decision to make. And you see people on both sides. Like, I can't make heads or tails of anything that's going on lately. I guess my question for you would be, if you had concrete evidence that he told you he was wearing the things that is said by law enforcement that he was wearing, that he was on the bridge. Now, have I haven't heard anything of him saying that he was at the actual crime scene where they were killed or anything like that. But in your mind, if he said he was wearing exactly what is stated and he said he was on the bridge at this specific time, would that change your opinion on things?
No, not really. I mean, it is just not even anywhere close enough to. I mean, the clothing, like, I'm telling you, man, like, everybody dresses that way. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
but
going to pretend it's not true. Like, it is true. And, like, every like Indiana man is wearing that same shit.
right, but how many other Indiana men said that they were there that day?
We don't know.
3-4
I mean,
days
like,
after.
I don't think that they obviously didn't know. I mean, we have to kind of assume that they didn't even know, that they didn't even like. This investigation is so bad that they did not have like one of the very basic like pieces of like information that you would just kind of like have as a starting point for an investigation. Let's get a list of everybody that was at the trails that day. Failed. Complete failure. Their
Right.
list is at least missing one guy. What the fuck are you doing? Like, you couldn't even do that right.
Does it not seem weird to you? Like, to me, again, I got no stake in who's guilty, innocent. Like, I really don't care. doesn't it seem weird to you that everybody else that supposedly was on the trail that day, they have statements from and everything else, but the one guy who ended up getting pegged for the crime?
That's, we're assuming that they do, and we kind of know that they don't, because their first week's interviews are all deleted. They didn't keep a list of who they interviewed. They didn't keep a log. They didn't transcribe all those interviews, and they didn't follow up and re-interview those people. So to say that they do have statements from all these people, like, I'd kind of assume that they actually definitely do not. I think that they did some interviews. They're lost forever. They probably didn't follow up and get a re-interview. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but that's apparently what happened. It's unexplicable, but that's what happened.
So, all
I don't
eyes
assume
make
that they have interviews like with everybody that was at the trails that day, and that was the only one that was missing. I don't believe that.
I don't either.
I think they're missing lots.
So
I think they're missing lots of people that were at the trails. I don't think that they did.
Yeah.
I don't know what the motivation is for this this investigation to be so shoddy, but like, I mean, I do think it's suspicious. I think it are you purposely like fucking this up? Because it's really bad.
So, like all I said, at least 7 people were placed themselves on or around the trail while the girls were being murdered in that time frame. How is it that no one heard anything? Because you can't tell me they just laid there silently while someone, killed them. There was most likely screaming, etc.
Well,
How is
the
it
thing
that
what I'll say about that
Good.
is, while we have all the information, well, not all the information, but we have the video now, we have what we think happened now.
What video are you talking about, Daddy?
The bridge guy video. Okay, we don't have the video of the murder. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying.
What we have are frames from reconstructed frames.
Right.
Like, that's not a video. We don't have it.
So what I'm saying is, if things worked out the way that they're saying things worked out, you have 2 young girls with some creepy guy that they don't know, supposedly, with a gun. You don't know what you would do in that situation. Like, I always said, once one of the girls died or got attacked, the other girl would run away. But at the same time, where are you going to fucking run to? Like, you really don't know what you would do in that situation.
I agree. I don't think that you can put anybody can put their mind in that, then say, well, someone definitely would have run or someone definitely would have stayed.
Right.
Or, you don't know.
And you don't know if you would have heard them or not. Like, I've can honestly say I've never been there. I know certain people have. I don't know if you're at the end of that bridge, if you could see around the corner to where they were
No,
found.
dude. I mean, this is the sort of bullshit, complete propaganda that is just crazy. If you walk to the end of that bridge, you're in someone's backyard. It's right there.
Right.
Like, it's not.
But can you see where they were?
Trapped. You can just walk straight ahead, and you're right in someone's backyard. That's it.
But Fiend, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, if you're at the end of that bridge, would you be able to see where the girls were killed? Exactly. Like, would you be able to see the girls?
No.
Right.
No, it's on the opposite side of the creek.
So that's my point.
You might have. I'm not sure. You might have an obstructed view to the general area, but I don't think.
And if you're not thinking that 2 girls are going to be murdered over there, you wouldn't be looking for it anyways. So they might not have screamed or done anything else because they were terrified. So I think the question that was asked, obviously, it's not cut and dry whether or not you would have heard them or whatever, because there was some debauchery going on once they got over there, or however they got over there.
I would make the assumption that there was screaming. I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, that's why I was saying.
You would think maybe, but I have no idea. I'm not going to just assume that it happened because I have no idea.
You'd have to have some big fucking hog balls to do that when somebody's pointing a gun at you. I probably wouldn't do it. Fuck that.
Oh no! I mean, I'll tell you, absolutely. Dude, if anybody, this is a PSA for anybody that get, like, God forbid it ever happens to anybody, but like,
don't let them
if
take you
someone
to a
pulls a
second
gun
location.
on you and you don't have any arm, your best bet is to
Die
run.
right there.
You do not
Yep.
want
No, you turn and
to
run.
risk being
Right.
You do not want to risk being detained. Once you're in control, your odds go way, way down. Run, take your
Yep.
chances. Maybe they're a lousy shot. Maybe they only hit your arm, but fucking run. Do not like allow yourself to be taken hostage ever.
And this is coming from people that are, 27, 30, 31, whatever. But if you're a female and you're 13, 14 years old, you don't even fucking know what's what at that point. Like,
right.
Jesus.
I mean, kids aren't adequately taught that, but like they should be, because that is
even if they were, though,
the right thing to do. Like it's counterintuitive, because you're risking dying right there, but like it does increase your odds of living like a tremendous amount.
Yeah. My whole thing with all of it is like, I can't get around the fact that whoever did this, they went there that day to do something like this. There's no way that you do something in the middle of the fucking day on a trail.
Who knows?
No, I get it, but if you're thinking logically at all, yeah, there's always a chance of something, but you're on a public trail, whether it's a really big public trail where there's not a ton of people. The fact that you go there specifically to kill somebody, if it's not the people that you actually killed, like you weren't going there.
That seems like you're arguing against yourself. And I'll just point out, Curious Luke says run, hide, fight in that order, and that's like exactly correct. And kids do get better training on that nowadays, just because of like the active shooter training type of stuff, and like anybody that works, in a corporate job, you probably get the same training like
Hit
annually.
me, Fiend.
What's that?
I said, hit me. Give me the argument. I'm ready for it.
I mean, I think the argument is like it's so brazen that like, why would you plan to do that in like such a dangerous place where you could totally get caught for doing this thing?
I agree.
Unless you're just a crazy person and like you're not even considering that, or you're dumb and you're not considering that. But like, I mean, to think that it's all like planned out and intentional, and that's what they were gonna like, they just went with the intent. I mean, I think that there's like equal argument to say that like, and maybe it was spur of the moment because of how poor, like how dangerous this type of crime is to try to commit.
I do agree with you on that. I do. My personal belief, just after going over it so many times, is like, you have somebody that they were obviously covered at some point. If you believe the witness statements at all, if he had a face covering, if he had the stuff on that the girl said that he had on,
descriptions of different people, so there may be multiple people that have
there could be, but I haven't heard any other person that anyone saw that day that had that. And even the way that you see in the video,
well, like, but we don't know if they're missing, like, if they were only missing one person that was at the trail, or if they're missing like 5 people that were at the trails.
Well, I'm not talking about specifically who it was. I'm just saying the person that I saw in the video, and you could.
But you can't say that person has a face covering on, dude.
I'm not saying a face covering.
See that.
Fiend, I'm not saying a face covering. I'm saying what I saw was at least a jacket and a hoodie with the hood up and some type of hat, which I could be wrong.
I mean, I think you're going too far when you say that you see that stuff. I think people will see what they want to see. I can tell the guy's got jacket and pants on.
That's true, but at the same time, I could not be wrong. I'm not saying that it proves anything one way or the other, but I'm saying what I saw, that shit doesn't make sense to me with how warm it was that day.
It's not. It's February. It's the middle of February, dude. It's in the middle of winter.
But it wasn't it a lot warmer?
It's unseasonably warm, but it still wasn't warm. Like how?
Right.
Like why do you think that like everybody was trying to make the kids wear jackets and hoodies? Because it's
and
not
they didn't
that
want
warm.
to.
It's the middle of winter.
Right, but anybody that's lived in that type of fucking climate, they don't want to wear that shit longer than they have.
Not everybody though, dude. Some people run cold-blooded. They're cold all the time. They wear a jacket like when you get, it's just different for every person. And like, I'm not gonna like extrapolate that and say that every single person is going to wear either shorts and a tank top or bundle up with a jeans and a winter coat. And the kids weren't in shorts and tank tops either. They're dressed similarly in jeans and hoodies. Like what like why are we like we're drawing such a huge distinction on the level of clothing here? Like it's almost exactly the same thing everybody's wearing.
Hey,
Hoodie,
Fiend,
hoodie,
can I ask
hoodie,
you a really important question?
hoodie, jeans, and maybe a jacket. And I guarantee you, everybody was dressed that way.
Fiend, can I ask you a really important question?
What was that?
Why the fuck aren't you a defense attorney?
Man, I wouldn't. I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't do good with law school. I don't like school.
Like, listen, if I was accused of doing something, you would be the first person that I would call. If I had your number, you'd be the first person.
I think it would be really, really emotionally tolling to be a defense attorney. I'd probably be like a public defender, and I think it's going to be soul crushing if you got somebody that you really think is innocent, and they end up fucking going to jail. Like, I don't know.
But that's the name of the game.
I think it's just the weight of the world on you, and like I feel for the people that do that type of work and like have to bear that.
Yeah, but I think the questions that you ask, like, again, I don't give a fuck who's innocent or who's guilty. Like, I want the truth to come out. Like, I think the questions you ask are good questions. I don't agree with all of them, but you're steadfast in what you ask and your opinions, and it's a good thing. I mean, if you were up against a judge and you were duking it out, you could definitely sway a jury. I think it's good.
So,
well, thanks. I don't know if that's going to be in my future, but maybe I'll consider it.
So, I was sent a photo that has recently been released. That apparently they have another angle on Bridge Guy, not just from one of the phones.
Oh, really? I don't think that I've seen this going around. If it's a picture of
it up on screen,
if it's a picture of me, you can get fucked. Like,
no, it's not. that would have been hilarious, but I don't even know what you
just
look
a
like,
fucking cat walking the trail.
It would be great, but no. It is very blurry, and the photo there's a good chance it was taken from an outside source.
Well, even the crime scene photos are really blurry, so at this point, I wouldn't put it past anybody that it's an actual
source
photo.
What's the source on this, though?
Oh, it's Frank Westling, right there. Where's the comparison to that?
What is the source of this photo?
Frank Westling. He was there.
Are you talking about who sent me the photo?
No, where did you get this from?
I don't know. Okay, I can't say
Don't
who
say
it
it,
is.
Blake.
They had already texted me and said, "Yep, nope, not saying it. Sorry, Fiend."
Okay, well, no. So you didn't get it from like WTHR on publishing an article, right?
I did not know. I literally just had someone else reach out to me.
And somebody wouldn't be cagey about where they got it from if
Blake.
If they just got it from online from a reliable news source.
Blake, if it was Sierra Gillespie from Law and Crime, tell her hit me up.
It was
dude.
Not,
I don't trust anything that just floating around. That's ridiculous to assume that is like decent information at all. I mean, who knows? I don't know. Did someone just have like someone enhance a photo? Real. Enhance the photo themselves? Like, yeah, it's not real.
Like I said again, I assume it's not real. I cannot confirm or deny what the whether the photo is real or fake. But someone had asked me politely if I could put it up and see what other people thought. So that's all I can put out
Well,
there.
I think looking at this stuff from totally random sources is, I don't give it a lot of weight. And by not a lot, I mean, I give it 0 weight, like even in believability at all.
Yeah.
Like, I have every reason to believe that somebody just created that because they're just being weird.
There is many possibilities. I am not going again. I can't confirm or deny anything. Oh, thanks, hybrid.
I don't know if it was a great interview.
Anyway.
I didn't even hear Blake ask a whole lot of questions. It kind of seemed like Key and Ruckus.
Yeah, it was more.
They were carrying the weight there.
I didn't do shit. Let's be completely honest. I just put it together.
There we go. We need transparency.
Oh no, I am 100% honest with it. I was fully prepared to ask questions, and both of them like to talk, and they're great people. So it actually just worked out that way. By the time they got done, I didn't have any other questions.
I thought it was a good discussion.
Yeah, no. And if you heard T, someone had asked about the phone being turned on, and she said we didn't talk about that. We'll talk about that next time, which means there will probably be another conversation between them, whether it's here or on one of their panels. Yeah, that's a great cliffhanger right there.
No, it's not going to be on any one of their panels. It's going to be on Blue-Eyed Trucker. This is Trucker's Talk moment. If they talk at all, it's only going to be here.
I'm going to scoop them. It's going to be on my channel.
Do it.
No, it's not.
Mar put my channel in the chat.
No, fuck
these
Kitty.
people know where to go.
No. Dude, it's just you and DB talking shit. No. Come on. You set this up. Come on.
It's just coincidental that DB's on there every time.
Yeah, you love him. Stop it.
I know. I am fond of DB, but
Fiend likes to buy into the drama.
It's not a coordinated show between the two of us. No.
It's the same way. It's the same way that Richard Allen's tip was not lost in the system. That's all I'm gonna say. Fiend did 9/11. In case you guys didn't know, it was all a cat.
Fake news, buddy.
Sure. Hey.
I was in Indiana. Indiana.
I mean, you can control things from afar. I think the people that they have in Guantanamo right now, they were never in America. Just saying.
That is true.
Hey, heard it here first, folks.
Oh, that's funny. Where is DB? Where's the real DB? I don't know who's the imposters and who's the.
I've got some endurance, but DB's a bit of a softie. He gets worn out on this. He gets worn out on this shit, man. Like it's heavy stuff. Heavy stuff. You can't do it day in, day out.
Mm-hmm. That's what I call a puss.
Yeah, I was thinking that conversation was going a complete different direction.
Yeah, don't ever think that.
Fiend wore out DB, guys.
Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, chat was definitely great.
I'm getting some new subscribers right now. I like this.
Dude, chat was good.
Yeah, everyone go.
I only go hit what?
I was gonna say go hit Fiend's subscribe. Go like some of his videos.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's a mixed bag over there. It's a mixed bag. Some of it's probably some good discussion. Some of it's probably not all that great.
Normally
you know how it goes, Blake.
When I leave work, I always try to get on YouTube and listen to a live stream as I'm going home. And I clicked on Fiend's, once or twice, and I gave it a chance, but I don't know. It's still iffy for me. You gotta pump up.
Thanks, Blake. Or Teddy.
No, go subscribe to Fiend's channel. Come on, the cat's out there trying to get the bag. Go subscribe.
I don't think there's any bag you had on these YouTube streets. I'm like, just
Ask Murder Sheet.
like,
They know there's a bag. Start putting those ads in there.
It's not on YouTube. They don't even upload shit to YouTube, and they haven't for like forever.
Right, but they used to, and now they're on those Apple podcasts because
yeah. Well, they run a fucking million ads, dude. Fucking.
I know, man.
Like, hey, everybody, go download June's Journey and make Murder Sheet some money. Sure, you won't regret it, but it won't install any fucking like malware on your phone.
Dude, Fiend, all you got to do is go out and buy a visor and put yourself on camera. Like, everybody will fall in love with the eyes, and they'll see the Under Armour visor, and you'll be golden. You'll never have to work a day in your life.
I don't know that I actually want that. You know, like,
I know.
I don't actually want internet stalkers. Believe it or not.
Yeah, but you already have them. People stalk the cat. Just make money off of it, dude. Come on.
I don't think there's money to be made on YouTube. I'm well aware of people that are extremely successful on YouTube and know how much money they make doing it, and it's like peanuts, dude. You better have a fucking job.
Talk to Mr. Beast. Come on, you could be the next Mr. Beast. You could give me a car.
Mr. Beast level, yeah, for sure. You're talking total different. Like,
well, you know what? If you don't ever try, you will never know.
Dude,
I believe in you. I think the kitty could go to #1
on YouTube. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Check them out. Phoenix. Play on Words. Come on. You got the smarts and the brain.
OnlyFans.
He's going to be the next defense attorney. Like, you roll through Indiana, don't fuck around. Jesus.
Dude, whatever's going on in chat needs to stop.
What's going on? I'll fucking swat him down. I see Mar in chat. I might have to swat her down. Uh-oh.
Curious Luke. We'll talk about doing that.
Yeah, I can't sell my XRP, so I need some other coinage that I can, get behind.
Yeah, I'm all about doing a fucking Ponzi scheme, dude.
Let's go. As long as I'm behind it and not in it.
Right.
Yep. Miranda Lee, what are you talking about? This is some X-rated stuff.
This is what I'm talking about. Like this.
Oh, I forgot you're a prude, Fiend. Sorry.
I am. And
I'm not, so keep going with it.
No,
I love making this guy uncomfortable.
Stop.
Let's go.
Dial it down.
Blake, how are you doing with all of it?
Oh, dude, I'm fine. Truckers talk, dude. Come on now.
Dude, Caroline, stop policing us down here in chat. You see that, Fiend? The people have spoken. This is America. We listen to the people.
Only fiends.
Yeah. Like, what the hell's going on? Let the people talk. Fucking fiends. What a good guy.
Yeah.
This was a good discussion.
What a day.
Yep. Yeah, Teddy, I think we had a good discussion. I don't know if you want to keep it going, but like I appreciate you, like,
yeah, dude,
like talking and keeping it civil, and
yeah, dude, I don't care
even though you're my sworn enemy.
Hell yeah,
I think it was a good discussion.
But you see that's the thing. We're trying to show people what's up. It doesn't matter what your opinions are or what you think you know. We all know nothing. It's fine. I will still, I promise you, I will buy. No, Blake, I will buy peanut butter kashi cereal. I'll do it. I think it'll probably be good. And then I'll have to come on here with my head hung low and say that the Fruity Pebble Waffle Crisp was a bad choice and the peanut butter kashi was good.
It's so good, man. It's so good.
I bet it is. I think I've had kashi before. I just don't know what I had. I saw Fruity Pebble Waffle Crisp and I like both of them, so.
I mean, some of the kashi kind of questionable, but the peanut butter, man, that's good. Good.
That's all it takes with Fiend. You put some peanut butter in there and it's all over.
Right.
Makes sense.
I can see it. Oh,
Oh man,
Yeah,
I
I
lost my
don't know.
train of thought.
What else you got, Fiend? I'll argue with you some more on whatever. I'll be the
I'm trying to think, man. I don't know. I think I'm still meaning to dig it up because I'm gonna make a tweet because I've tweeted about it before. But like this, I think it's really, really interesting. This expert that does the quote unquote Odinism expert, like she's
yeah.
really, really high qualified. And I know that like Murder Sheet like tried to drag her, even though they didn't actually they stopped taking notes because they just were so triggered by her talking. So
Honestly,
I don't know how you trust somebody to report to you when you don't even take notes on what you're listening to. That seems kind of dumb. But
if you wanted to be credible, I wouldn't even have brought up Dawn Perlmutter. I mean, not saying anything about her because I don't know shit, but when they ask her, hey, if we told you this, 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 and this, would you sway your opinion? And she says no. It's like,
I mean, well,
what
I don't
would?
know. I think that's telling, dude. I think that she's definitely. I mean that's so. This is I have a very general like worldview of like your opinion doesn't mean shit, but an expert's opinion means a lot. And I get people don't like it because they all want to be little snowflakes that believe that their opinions matter, but they don't. I'm sorry, non-expert opinions are a dime a dozen. They don't mean shit. I'm sorry. It applies to you, applies to me, applies to people in chat. It's just reality. Some people are experts on things, and other people are just not experts on those things. And the expert opinions matter a whole lot more than everybody else's.
So with her,
Fair enough.
right? I think it's fair too. I guess the thing with her that I would say, number one, people are going to go back, people that look at this case, they're going to go back and see her on, you know,
I mean,
law
and
and crime, whatever.
that's encouraged because it was one of the
Right.
things that was really misrepresented in court. It was like kind of a gotcha by Nick. Like, weren't you on court TV and didn't you already have your mind made up before seeing the evidence? But
Right.
like we watched the interview on court TV with criminaliTy last night, and plain as day, she says, you know, I want to first of all, I need to say that I haven't seen this evidence, so this is only based on what I've read and looking at these diagrams. But like based on what I'm currently seeing, like I've definitely got like this is what I think.
Right.
Well, that's not a gotcha. Like she's clearly saying that she hasn't seen the evidence. Now she has seen the evidence, and she's like, she's even more convinced. Like that makes sense.
Right. And I agree with you. I mean, when you look at photos and you hear the evidence that's presented to you, I mean, she's the defense's witness, right? So she heard what the defense has told her. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong that,
Well, no,
no, but
I mean,
Fiend,
I think it's a
what
stretch to just say like, hey, you're being told what to say by
I'm not
either
saying
side.
that though, Fiend. What I'm trying to do is again, I don't care if this person is guilty or innocent. I'm just trying to
I
put
know,
it from
that's
right.
so we're talking about like a totally different thing. We're getting like talking about witnesses. They get up there, they swear to God, they swear on the fucking Bible that
Right.
like they're gonna tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And like you get an expert up here that's somebody that's spent like a lifetime doing research and writing papers, going to
Right.
school. She's got a
Right.
PhD. She's written all these books.
Yeah, but
I
Fiend, you
mean,
and me
I
both
don't
know
think
that a
that she's just
PhD
going to
don't
get
mean
up there and
fucking
just say like
shit.
she's just going to be like, well, the defense told me to say this. That's a
Well,
ridiculous thing to think.
Well, what I would do to be an asshole is I would say it depends on how much she's getting paid. Not that I think that it's real, but I'm just being an asshole. That's me.
I don't just dude. I
So
think it's just a huge stretch. I think the integrity of like, and especially when you're talking about like if you're talking about a doctor or a lawyer or like anybody that gets up there as an expert witness, like dude, like I think you trust them to like give their actual opinion on something.
and I agree. I agree. I'm not discounting what she saw when she looked at those crime scene photos and she told them what she thought.
I mean,
guess
yeah, but I think it's telling that because like I mean, I've got questions. Like, I mean,
me too,
really,
dude.
you think this? So these sticks in this body positioning and like the this manner of crime. Like, are you serious? Like, I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from when you say this is like a ritual killing of or a sacrifice or something. But like, are you serious? Like, what does an expert think about this? Like,
I
go find somebody that like actually analyzes this, and they say that it's actually a ritual killing. Well, there it is.
I get where she's coming
Here's the
from.
expert, and she's pounding the table saying this was absolutely a ritualistic killing. It's a ritualistic crime. Everything matches up, every single part of it. I'm 100% convinced. All right, well, now we've got that. Like, dude, I've been waiting for that this whole time. Like, I'd love to hear what an expert says, and there it is. The expert says it is, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot, because like I was kind of like doubting it a lot before now, but like now you've got an expert that like is definitely like 100% believes that that's what happened.
I agree with you, and it does give me pause. Everything in this fucking case gives me pause. Even some of the stuff that the prosecution has said that I agree
the
with.
thing, dude, like I can still like I don't think it's not fair to have like some doubts about what she says, but like I'm not going to pretend that I'm smarter than the expert, and like
I'm
my
not,
doubt is more than like I don't think it was a ritual, and I'm smarter than she is, because that's not true. Like, and
Fiend,
it's not true for like anybody that thinks that. Like, she is the one that knows about this stuff, and we are the ones that don't.
everybody in the chat, I want to make it clear that I don't disagree with Fiend at all. I like to put like
USA libertarian. Libertarians.
he's been fighting me
Libertarians
all
don't like
night.
experts. Libertarians think that they know better than
Oh, you
experts.
fucking stop it, you kitty. You stop it. Don't talk to the chat like that. What are you doing? We're all here having a
I'm
nice
not talking
conversation.
chat. I'm talking about libertarians in general. They all think they
Listen,
know better than the
libertarians
experts.
want to take back this country. They don't want the two-party
Well, the
system. They want to
libertarians
be
have a tall order, because
Fiend's
they're
a Democrat.
not going.
He wants Kamala la la la. That's what's up.
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not registered
Ah,
to any party.
mm-hmm.
I hate the Democratic Party.
He's not
I loathe
registered,
it.
but
I loathe it entirely.
hardcore
To
Republican.
be fair, I hate all the parties. So
Yeah, me too. The founding fathers are rolling in their
Yep.
fucking graves right now, knowing that there are parties going on. And you can take that to the bank. I'll fight that with anybody. Founding fathers didn't want parties.
they're literally rolling, because that would require reanimation of the dead.
Yeah, well, we have their writings. They always wrote shit for posterity, and they were like, "Listen, dog,
I think
don't go against each other."
Some libertarian principles are great, but like, I mean, it's a joke of a party. Like, they're never going to do anything.
So is the Democratic and Republican Party.
Well,
That's just me.
They're not,
but,
because
no, they are.
99% of your officials are either Democrat or Republican.
Yeah,
so.
I think they're all jokes too. So
Well,
that's
are,
just me.
but they
You're
have
right.
the power.
So they're all jokes.
Well, they're all in the positions.
Well, Fiend, that's fine, but I don't look at who's in position and if they're right or wrong based on if they're in the position. I think it's all bullshit. But that's just me. So, anyways, back to what we were talking about. I don't discount. I don't.
I totally got sidetracked, because the original point
Yeah, you
that I was
did.
going to say is that like
Okay.
the one thing that she said, both in her statement and when you go back to the video and watch it, and she said it a couple times in the video, the body positioning is more important than anything else. And I think that's really, really interesting.
It is, but it doesn't mean that it's the truth. That's exactly what it was.
It doesn't mean that it's the absolute truth, but again, we're like, do we trust ourselves, or do we trust an expert? Like, we gotta trust experts, man.
Dude, I don't trust shit. And
well, I'm not saying you have to 100% trust it. I'm just saying you gotta weigh things differently.
And Fiend, what I'm saying is, it's not that I'm saying I trust it like it's right or it's wrong. I'm just saying I can't, just like everything else, I can't be sure that that's exactly what's going on.
Nobody's God and is omniscient and
right.
just knows. Like we're not pretending that. Like,
I know,
but we have to like weigh like expert
do.
opinions differently than we weigh just like Joe Schmo opinion, because Joe Schmo
Right.
don't know shit.
They really don't.
No offense. I know there's a Joe Schmo running around these YouTube streets.
Yeah, that guy knows he doesn't know what's up.
That's not regarding him. That's the colloquial Joe Schmo.
Yeah. Dude, that's why I hate talking about the case so much, because no matter what comes out, you can look at it from either side and go, yeah, that makes sense. Like all of this, it makes sense.
No, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. I mean, I've got a shit ton of questions like that don't make any sense. And like,
dude, so do I.
You know who's really not trying to answer the questions and make it make sense from the beginning? The fucking state.
McClelland?
The state.
Fucking McClelland.
No, not Nick McClelland. The state. You know, I'm including law enforcement from the very beginning of this investigation.
Tobin Liggett.
None of it made sense. They didn't communicate anything. Have no idea what fucking happened. We're barely in a different position, except that we're just pointing at this guy and be like, this guy did it. But like, what did he do? Like, you're not saying. Say what he did. Like, walk me through what the fuck he did, because I don't get it.
So what if we never I hate this because
we might land in a position where they convict this guy and we still have zero clue of what the
and Fiend,
what actually happened.
I think that's exactly where we're going to end up with everything that's been said, even now when they've gotten into details. I think that's where we're going to end up.
You might end up with an acquittal and you still don't have any fucking clue what happened.
But regardless, if he gets acquitted, you know, it's a whole OJ thing, and he could come out later on and say like, hey, I did it. But it's going to be very rough for him. And I think, but listen, I think it's going to be really fucking tough, because if he gets acquitted, they are going to have to move out of the state. And if he moves out of the state, it's going to be national fucking news. He's going to be out there with his wife.
Yeah, I'm not aware. I mean, I've heard this before, and yeah, I mean, obviously that would be a crazy and tough and insane situation. Yeah, you might have to move out of the state or move out of the country. But so, like, you look at the West Memphis 3, you know, like, they're doing all right. They've been acquitted of like or not acquitted, but like whatever, you know, released at least. Their general safety day to day is fine.
So here's my real stance. My real stance is, obviously, me and you were fucking nobody's talking about it. If a jury gets on the stand at the beginning of trial and they hear everything, I really think, right or wrong, I really think they're going to convict them.
Dude, I can't. Like, I mean, it's such an out on a limb prediction based on not seeing anything that's presented. I think it's a crazy thing.
It's not about us going over that, because I have a ton of questions about stuff. I think if a jury that does not have any idea of what the fuck's going on with this case, I think if they see the circumstantial evidence stacked up against him, I think they will. I
don't think there's that much circumstantial evidence against them, though.
Regardless,
nothing that we've seen.
If they convict him,
if you want to imagine in this scenario where they have a ton of evidence, sure, if they have like that'll convince me too, probably. Like if in this imaginary scenario they have a ton of circumstantial evidence or a ton of physical evidence or a combination of the both, hey, that's exactly what I would like to see. That would convince me. But like, we've seen no signs that they have anything. There's very limited pillars, like as far as we know, of what the state case is.
I believe they have circumstantial evidence, and if they do,
what do you consider the circumstantial evidence?
The circumstantial evidence that he put himself on the trail that day. He saw Fiend, let me talk. Hold on. He put himself on the trail that day. He saw the 3 people that they supposedly talked to and said that they saw a person. They saw a male, and they didn't see any other male on the trail afterwards. Like, he has no ties to the actual. Hold on. They have no ties to the crime scene. He doesn't. They can't. They don't have any DNA. They have the bullet, which I think you could have experts argue and throw out. Like, there's nothing concrete to me that's going to put him there, that's going to say for sure it was him. I think they're going to have a bunch of circumstantial evidence that to us, the people that give a shit about what the truth is in this case.
Our definition of a bunch is just very different.
Okay,
Because
right. But regardless,
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. This is one of the pillars of their case.
Okay.
It's some of these statements that, you know, the vaguely like maybe match up. I don't know. Like I honestly have a hard time thinking that they're really going to rely on that pillar all that much because it's so shaky. But yeah, that's about the limit of your circumstantial evidence. You know, you got there's a number of pillars. There's the pillar of he places himself there in his statements. You know, all of his statements is one pillar. Him say it, like whether they're incriminating statements, they're confessions, whether he places himself there, whether he says he owns his gun. That's one pillar. You've got pillars of other people's statements, which are extremely vague.
Okay.
And you know that's kind of your circumstantial like portion. And then there's the cartridge, and then there's not a whole lot more
that we know of.
Yes.
Right.
In an imaginary world, they could have a shit ton of evidence that all just locks this up, buttons it up. He's absolutely the guy. Like, there's no question about it. Like, I don't disagree. I think it's weird that not a single bit of it has been mentioned.
Kitty, hold on. Like, dude, I agree. I agree with you on so much stuff. Like, I have so many questions. True. And I'm not saying one way or the other. What I'm saying is, if you have 12 people that don't know a ton about this case that go into the courtroom after all this shit that we've gone through with this person did this, and he said he put himself there and all this stuff, I think the average individual is going to go on that jury and they're going to listen to the state, and the state could make up whatever the fuck they want. But at the end of the day, if they have somebody that they say with whatever proof they have that puts himself there, that supposedly said he was wearing the clothes that was in that video. They have video, which again is not proving anything, but supposedly he said he was in those clothes at that time. I really do think, as a normal individual in this country, I think that there's enough for a jury to say, you know what, we don't know everything that happened specifically because he hasn't said or somebody hasn't said, but I think it's enough for them to go, yeah, he's guilty. I'm not saying that it's right because I haven't heard enough.
Teddy, I mean, like, I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, being in the defendant's chair is extremely dangerous. If you're gonna play the odds, like, whether you're guilty or not, yeah, it might be like 95% you're gonna get convicted. Like, not pretending that isn't the case. Like, I'm not pretending it's like 50-50. Like, well, maybe they'll convict him or maybe they won't. You know, I'm saying maybe they'll convict him 95% and maybe they'll acquit him 5%. But like, regardless of whether he's factually like actually the person with culpable guilt for these particular crimes, I don't think it matters. Like, yes, you know, you can play the odds. Like, it's not going out on a limb to like. It's not going out on a limb for anybody like pro prosecution, like he's guilty and like, oh, you know, hoping that you're right. Yeah, you can say that on every fucking case, and you're gonna be right 95% of the time. Like, as far as the result, like there's no like mystery that like, yeah, if you get rung up on double homicide, guess what's probably gonna happen to you?
Yeah.
Well, like, you're like, get the fuck out of here if you believe anything else. Like, I'm not.
That's
like,
my point.
I'm not. Yeah, no, but like, it's not like.
I'm not saying it's true.
I mean, there's a misconception that like anybody thinks that like, oh yeah, it's like 50-50 or like, you know, these sides are equal. You can play the pro prosecution state side of any fucking high profile crime, and yeah, you're gonna be on the quote unquote winning side way more often if you ever think anybody's ever innocent of something. But like, we do know that some people actually are innocent of crimes that they are convicted. It's proven thousands upon thousands of times. There's just the exonerations like all over the place. It's a real thing that actually happens.
I
So
agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. My whole point is like, do you think that right now with all the shit that has gone on over the last couple of months, what do you think a jury would honestly rule on with what has been presented?
I
Seriously.
mean, I don't know. Like, like playing the odds. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna go say like, hey, the 95% chance of just a conviction, regardless of what's
Right. And
presented.
but that's my whole point. That like
Regardless of what's presented. Yeah.
I'm not
So then
saying
we're not
anything about
disagreeing.
right. That's why I don't understand why we're having, like I get you, dude. I'm not saying that you're wrong or you're right or
I know, but
whatever.
like when you put like chances on something and it's 95%, like,
Yep.
dude, like we have to accept that, like, that other 5% of the time, something different happens than what like happens most of the time. So like,
And I think that could absolutely
it's
happen.
still black and white, but it's it's black's 95% and white's 5%. But
Well,
hey,
listen, if
guess
you go
what
to the
happens
casino,
5% of the
put all
time?
your money
Guess
on
what happens
black,
5%
dude.
of the time? It's white, and it ends up being an acquittal instead of a conviction.
And I agree with you, bro. And you know what? It could happen either way, and that's my whole point. Like I said, me personally, I think if it went to trial right now, if it wasn't, whatever time it was at night right now, and they were in the middle of trial, and this was the day that they were going to decide, I think with the stuff that was talked about, absolutely, they would
Well,
probably convict him.
it's gonna depend, man. Because if they have someone like me on the fucking jury, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
but you're not on the jury, dude. That's why I'm
I
saying
know,
you
but
should be a defense attorney.
I'm not saying me. I'm saying somebody like me, and like
Fucking
that
love
actually
you.
believe, like, really like internalizes what reasonable doubt means and what that standard is. Like, would I pound the table and be like, I have doubt? Yes, I'd say it based on what I've seen so far. I absolutely there could be a ton more. But based only on this, like, this is shaky as fucking hell. Like,
If you said you didn't have doubt, I would not like you.
You're gonna hear from the defense attorneys. You're gonna hear from the law enforcement officers, and they're gonna tell you how fucking shitty this investigation is. And like,
Hell
if that
yeah.
doesn't drive home that there is reasonable doubt, like, I don't know what you're thinking reasonable doubt is, man. Because I got a shit ton of doubt.
I fucking love this. This is great. No, I agree with you. I really do. And at this point, like, doesn't matter what we talk about. It's always gonna come down to there's some bullshit with everything, and we
I mean,
need
this is one
more.
of the things that like people don't get a lot. Like, like I'm not like a legal like junkie or anything. Like, I honestly don't give a shit about all the legal stuff. Like, I care about the facts and the investigation and like what happened. Like I care about the crime, not the legal part.
Me
Like,
too.
obviously
Dude, I'm with
you
you.
want to land with justice being served, but like getting to the bottom of a mystery is
That's
far
why
more like.
everybody's here. That's why nobody cares about the legal shit. The only reason I'm here is I want to know what the fuck happened. And that's why everyone's here, whether they like to admit it or not, unless they're a legal student and they're studying something. And that's exactly why I'm pressing you on these issues,
I
because
think there are some
that's
people that are like big into the legal side of it, and I
and
mean,
they could be
some of them are lawyers too, and they're into it,
right.
and they have a completely different perspective
But
than your regular true crime follower, because
right.
a lot of true crime followers, like, you want justice, but you also want to like get to the bottom of something. Like, the cases that intrigue us are like where we got some question, and like we want answers.
Right. Because you think about it, it's like everybody's going crazy about Delphi, but what happens if stuff actually comes to a close and people, for the most part, are happy with it? What's going to happen after? Do you think everybody that's on this panel and everybody in chat, they're just going to give up and say, I don't care anymore? No, people are going to care.
It completely depends, like
I
there
don't
could,
think so. I don't think
like,
so.
well, this is why I'd really love for there to be cameras, but like, there's a million different ways that enough evidence could come out in a trial to completely convince me Richard Allen did this. He did it all by himself. Like, there's just endless possibilities that could absolutely happen. It's just there's not any indicators that type of information is going to come out. It still could, but like, I don't think people should be confident in it. I don't think people should be confident that we're going to get a ton more answers. We've gotten so like little tidbits at this point, and none of it really lines up with like, this is the guy, this is what happened,
you know what,
timeline. Like none of it like supports like any particular narrative.
I agree, just based off of my own, I don't know, my own thoughts about everything, but I really hope we do get it. And I really hope you're in court, and I really hope that I decide to take time off work at that point, and that the trial actually happens at that point, because I'd love to look over at you and be like, what's up? We came to an agreement on something, and I think we both kind of have the same feeling on it. Like, it's good to feel that. It's not good to have that, opposing view of somebody, and you're just kind of like, hey, fuck you.
I mean,
you don't think what I think.
There's a difference in just a lot of people. Like, some people really want Richard Allen to be the guy, and some people really want Richard Allen to not be the guy. And like,
it's silly.
I'm definitely not in either of those camps. I could give a fuck about the guy. Like, I care about his like constitutional rights. I care about him being like treated humanely, because some of this shit is absolutely fucking shocking of
I think so, too.
what they've done to this guy. And I don't care whether I liked him or I fucking hated him. Like, it's still fucking awful. And I I would go out on a limb and say, you know what? I probably wouldn't like Richard Allen. That, you know what? I'm not going to be biased and just be like, well, then fuck him. Like, no. Like, I don't care if I don't like the guy. Like, if he's being treated worse than an animal or a fucking terrorist or like the worst criminals that have ever existed, or the worst prisoners of war that have ever existed, like, that's fucking fucked up shit, and like, it shouldn't be happening. Like, this is fucking America. What the fuck are we doing here?
Well, I'll put it like this, and then I'm gonna hop off because I got some shit to do. But what I will say is, if you look at the news, we got a lot of terrorists that we know for a fact have done some shit in this country, even though they weren't in the country while it happened. And they're just now, after 23 years, getting a plea deal where they're not facing the death penalty. All they have to do is say,
hey, I saw that too. And
yep, I know you did.
I
know.
I don't actually support the death penalty, like, just generally.
I don't normally, except for those people. That's where I draw the line. Nope. And I agree with you, Fiend. Listen, I'm right there with you, buddy. I feel like we have a lot of the same thoughts, and I don't agree with the death penalty for a lot of people, but for the people that I know committed certain things that put us where we are right now.
Committed it, like, definitely. Yeah, but they definitely already died.
KSM, dude. No, I don't know. That one person. That's one person that, if everybody else went free, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, that guy, he deserves the death penalty, and he deserves it far worse than what he would get it in this country.
I don't disagree that, like, I do think in extreme circumstances, like, I don't, like, I do.
Well, it's extreme circumstances.
I do back off of, like, death penalty for certain, like,
right,
like, very, very specific, high profile, like
right. Me too, but not for that.
High treason and war crimes, just, maybe extreme terrorism. Like, yeah, I do think that
making the plan for 3,000 fucking American citizens dying in a horrific way
for that particular person,
right?
That continues to be dangerous even if they're incarcerated. I think that's where I back off the death penalty.
If what the fuck is his name? Stupid asshole that was Zacharias Moussaoui. He wants to be extradited to France because he feels like if Donald Trump becomes president, that he's going to put out an order for him to die. And he wrote the judge, he wants to be extradited to France where they don't have any of the death penalty or anything else. That guy, if he's been convicted of what it is that he's accused of, he should die. He should have died a long time ago. His trial was in 2006.
I mean, I don't know.
That's what it is.
If somebody isn't like
What do you think somebody should die for?
high treason and
Okay.
situations where high profile people where it actually does serve as some sort of deterrent, like
He fits that.
When the French were guillotining people, like some of that, like I don't think was completely not necessary. Like
Right,
I think
but some of it
I think it was
was.
a deterrent to like don't fucking do this. I
Right,
think
but some of it
to
was.
regular people, like I don't think that does anything. But like
That's true.
kings and queens and presidents
Well,
and generals. Yeah,
Right.
I think that there is a little bit of a deterrent when you see that you're the one fucking getting justice dumped on you like that.
Well,
Don't fuck around.
I think this guy, if he had his choice, he would have been a part of everything that took place, and I think he should be fucking hung. And honestly, I think being hung would not be enough for him. So that's where I'm gonna end it.
I think everything should be completely humane, like no matter
Well,
what.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But there's a lot of people out there on this earth that don't believe that, and they follow through with the shit that they don't think should be humane, and they kill people that way.
No, I mean I agree. If a terrorist is in custody and you've linked them to like a horrific case of terrorism and murder,
Well, he's been linked.
and that they actually in any way, shape, or form, even in their mere existence, can inspire or
Yep.
perpetuate any additional like murder or terrorism or crime or somebody to do the same thing, then yes, that's the
Yep.
sort of case where I'll back off into being an absolutist and saying no death penalty. But like I do think in very specific cases, I think it's warranted.
Well, I think he's warranted, and I think the people that are right now taking a plea deal, that everybody in America that has actually been a part of the situation also thinks is bullshit. I think it's all bullshit.
I think
That's where I'm going to end it.
A lot of precautions to make sure that these people don't have any influence on anybody
he
else.
really just bounced, didn't he?
He did. I don't think that those particular terrorists, like one, they didn't actually do the thing, they obviously are involved and they're doing life without parole. They're never gonna get out. For the most part, they're just like, they're not allowed to like write people and make plans and do more terrorism. Like that for sure isn't happening. So, their day-to-day life is just, being a religious person. They're essentially monks. So I don't know what we're worried about with some of it. Like just for vengeance, I'm not a big death penalty person. I think that there's also just like a moral toll that it takes on everybody else that isn't the person being executed. Like some people really want someone to die, and like you know what, your family member gets murdered, and you really want vengeance, you really want justice, and you really want to see that person executed, and then that person is executed, and you got justice, and you felt good about it in the moment. But like sometimes those people like start to feel differently and they start to feel bad about it, and then well, now you can't take that back. Now you're living with guilt, even more guilt that you can't ever get rid of. And whether they're right or wrong, they can feel whatever they want to feel, but like you don't want to put that on people by like just giving what they want in the moment and not having more foresight that like, hey, maybe people might have a moral objection to this in the future. And that, it's a real thing that does happen. Like people wish death on somebody and they get their wish and they see that death happen and then they feel bad about it, and they shouldn't. Like we shouldn't even give them the opportunity for that to happen to them, because it's a terrible thing to do to them.
Yeah. But the last thing I'm going to say is I appreciate everyone that was on the panel carrying the show. I didn't do anything at all. It was great. It was nice to hear from everyone and everyone's opinions. I definitely think one thing we all agree on is we want to wait to see the evidence given at trial to see whether or not we can say, yes, he deserved to be labeled as guilty or not. And I think the jury, as long as it's a fair jury that doesn't know any of the extra BS from the community or anything like that, I think they'll give him the correct, they'll give the correct decision regardless. And I think that's just kind of where it's coming from. I think that's what we're going to have to live with.
Correct decision regardless. I think there's
Wow.
definitely I think there's definitely room that weak evidence is provided, but it's still a conviction.
Yeah, but there is, but I don't know. Like I said, there was just that case.
I'd also say, hey, I think there's like there might be more evidence that like is more convincing to armchair sleuths, and you might end up with an acquittal. Like I think both possibilities are. The first much more than the second like scenario, but I think both are like completely possible.
Yeah, but like, everyone
there's a lot of unhappy people.
Subscribe to Fiend, Ruckus, and criminaliTy. I would say Teddy, but I don't think he has a channel. If he does have a channel, I'll put that in the comments.
If you subscribe to Ruckus, I can almost guarantee that you'll be blocked, and it's super fun.
See, I'm special. I'm a different breed because he made me a wrench. So.
Well, then unblock me, bro.
That's the thing with wrenches. They don't have the power to block or unblock. It's only timing out.
I'm aware of
that. Yeah, I know. You were trying to get rid of a bunch of people in the chat earlier.
No, I just wanted to personally block them. I wanted to stop seeing their comments. That was all it was. I don't want to ban them.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna ban everybody with DB. I didn't, but I wanted to, just to be safe.
Which one was the real DB?
I think like very confusing. I think not DB was actually DB. NOT KNOT DB was maybe DB, I think, but I'm not even sure anymore.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because you had said
everybody went to check real quick whether DB was in their profile name.
That's funny.
No,
I was
really scared.
You'd said something about it being Dan, and I was like, well, if he wanted to talk, I unblocked him specifically so he could come in here and
no KNOT,
make sure
not DB. KNOT DB is definitely for sure Dan. If you couldn't tell by looking at his comments.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like I said, I was trying to make sure that just about everyone could be in here to see the conversation and chat. But not DB, just around stealing channels. Yeah, not DB. He's a great guy. He was offering advice the first day I live streamed by myself. But on that note, it is just the 3.5 hour mark. I think I'm gonna get off here. I have not been sleeping great. So I think that's where we're gonna leave it. Everyone have a good night. Fiend, I will catch you around. I'll probably end up seeing you on your channel or my channel again.
Peace, dude.
Yep, later.